says it's on. Here we go. All right. Good morning, Jake.
Good morning, Kurt. And hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Making Turbo Pit Fighter. We're making a post-apocalyptic sci-fi comic live on the air featuring Turbo Pit Fighter, a burly female character with radioactive proof DNA set in the future about 150 years from now. 2240s. Or maybe that's like more. Yeah, we're in an exciting phase. We're finishing up DOOM Magazine's #1, and that's a or an anthology of our sci-fi tales, including some prequel stories. And we've been working on it for a while. We had a discussion last week where we're kind of taking too long, and we need to get back to Turbo #1. So we're going to be asking a question today to anybody that might be listening. And Kurt, you got some heavy duty ASMR noises happening. I don't know if you want to mute for that, but the printer sounded like one of those cement mixers.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to print the at least 2 pages. I forgot to print 2 pages from the company man. I just wanted us to be able to talk about. I'm sorry, it was just a list.
Oh, right. So we got
it's chunking through. So I apologize.
Yeah, it comes out really loud, and it's good that there's a lot of volume on there, but I don't think the
all right, we're done.
Dulcet tones. So yeah, Kurt brings up that we did receive the final artwork from Sebastian for the company man, which is a 6-pager. That's going to be in DOOM Magazine's #1 End of the World Anthology.
Yeah. So let's back up, because you came in with a question to the community. What's the question to the community?
Well, I'm going back and forth, honestly.
Okay.
Because we're wrapping up this comic. The original plan was that we were going to have the next 6 pages of the Turbo serializing Turbo Pit Fighter #1, and we were going to add 6-pager from Ken Landgraf. That's all done. It's almost finished. The letters, I only got 3 more. Oh no, all the letters are done on that. We have an 11-pager from Alex Turbin, and we're just finishing up the lettering on that. And we have a 2-pager from Cromita. And we're going to be doing some zine pages and some lead-in pages, all kinds of fun stuff. And the question was whether we should just reprint all of the Turbo pages 1 to 18 in order to lengthen the page count of DOOM Magazine's #1.
Well, that's not the reason. In my opinion, that's not the reason. The reason is that for me, this is a democracy based on conversation. But we have this Turbo teaser, which is not a comic book. So, and this was a discussion that I think we had off camera at the end of last week. And the reason it's not a comic book, it was never intended to be one. In other words, we just want, which by the way, you can get a PDF version of this on cromthebarbarian.com, but it was meant to be something of an item that anybody who was following us that was anxious to see something in print or even have a PDF to kind of like follow along with us on our journey, you would have access to it. The even greater point of it was because we wanted to start reaching out to other creators, and we wanted to do this exchange thing. So they had a comic book, we had a comic book, and we would exchange it. My position is that these first 12 pages do need to be in a comic book and the Doom Magazine Anthology #1 is going to be published as a comic book. So the conversation has been kind of floating between the two of us because neither one of us are. I'm pretty much 100% that I would love to see all 18 pages in Crom Anthology #1, and it is the feature that, why somebody would want to get a hold of it. And then this would go away. Anybody who got a teaser up to this point, which, by the way, you should get a teaser, because if we do end up not having it anymore, it'll be worth hundreds of dollars. But that's my side of the story on that.
Yeah. And I agree with all that because I was the one that suggested it. But I went a little step backwards because I was just gaming it out a little. And if we do this, we'll have 18 out of 28 pages in Doom Magazine's #1 with these other cool stories. But once Turbo #1 comes out, what happens to Doom Magazine #1?
It stays. You're just now going to get an entire 28 pages completed. And as I think I also was saying off camera, then the company man with Sebastian could be a backup, as well as maybe one or two others.
Could be a backup in what?
Turbo Pit Fighter #1.
No, Turbo Pit Fighter #1 is 28 pages, Turbo Pit Fighter through and through. And
you can't have a backup?
I don't think we want to have a backup. No, not in Turbo Pit Fighter #1. That's
Why?
not an anthology. That's not an anthology.
Yeah, but comic books have always, even Marvel and DC.
We created an anthology for that reason, to put a place to showcase all the stuff.
Why is it that only the 28 pages of Turbo can be in Turbo issue #1 for you? That's what is that? What is that thinking and feeling?
I think it's a good value to have a 32-page comic in your hand, with no ads and one story through and through, and then we will have some additional content in the back, but only 4 pages, and the rest will be this great standalone story. And I love the idea of doing prequel stories in an anthology, Doom magazines. So okay. I just wanted to keep it kind of pure, but also if we put in a 6-pager, now that brings us up to 34 pages, which you can't really have. You have to have 36 pages at that point, which means I think it dilutes it.
Okay.
And I want Turbo #1 to be our, it's our landmark thing that we've been working on for, 3+ years. And I want it to be, and that's why I'm worried about what happens to Doom Magazine #1 if we have 2/3 of it of the Turbo. Like I'm almost rather leaning towards
wow, I see. You have me now. Okay, keep going. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and so I'm also I would almost rather squeeze in the company man into Doom Magazine's #1 and just run the 6-page, the next 6 pages of Turbo like we were going to do.
Right.
And the reason why is because I'm just picturing, 5 years from now, we're sitting at a table and you have Doom Magazine's #1 right next to Turbo #1. No one's going to buy Doom Magazine's #1 if it's 2/3 of Turbo. They're just going to buy Turbo, or maybe they don't buy.
No, you've actually convinced me. Something just registered, and I'm with you now. So, can we agree? There's only going to be 6 pages in Doom Mag's Anthology End of the World Anthology #1. That's Turbo. Can we officially just put this to bed?
Well, I wanted to kind of vacillate this entire.
Well, no, I think what the
No,
thing
I
you have me excited about, Jake, is you've changed my mind. Is that this can still go away, which makes it even more valued, if you will, not only economically, but just as somebody who's a fan of what we're doing. It increases the value of this item. The anthology just has let's say, a middle section of 6 pages, the Doom Magazine #1. But then Turbo Pit Fighter is all 28 pages and some the funky Substack text, infomercialing. I think that's great. I think that's perfect. The only thing that I think we need to really just make another official decision on is Sebastian, in my opinion, has come in late. So I don't want you, because you have to put all of this energy into the pages, and it's going to be another 2 to 3 months just to get those pages up to snuff. I would just say can them for anthology #2.
Yeah, but then we're a lot lighter on Doom Magazine #1. So our page count would be
not really. What I think we're still at 32.
11 is, I'm doing mental math here, so that's 12 plus 11 is 23, and then we got 2 for Chromita, that's 25, and then how do we get up to like 32?
Now here we go. We got all right. So we have So we've got 6 Turbo. We've got 6 Landgraf. We've got 6 Casualties, right?
Yeah.
No, that's Casualties. Sorry. We got 11 pages of Duke. We've got 2 Chromita. We had zine pages that we were talking 4 to 8. We had 2 pages each of ad pages for Crom and Jake. We have pinups. We have a Landgraf pinup, and we have 2 more pinup, or 2 more like pinups, if you will, from was it Noah and Ralph.
Yeah, but I don't think those are full pagers.
No, they're not. They'll go just on their own page. You know what I mean? So that's I'll just make that one.
Yeah,
page.
Well, that
so we got 6, 12, 23, 20, 24. So this is 24 right here. 25, 26, 27, 28. And then if you want to get up to 32, so you're at 28. If you want to get up to 32, that's another. Okay. Then we have another 4 pages to get to 32. And then if we wanted another 4 pages, it would get us to 36, which would be 8 pages of like what we call the zine pages. Wow, my notes here finally played in. I wrote these things I wrote this 2 months ago or something.
Welcome in the chat. We got Ron Parsons
Ron. Yeah. Good morning, sir.
Maybe if anybody else has an opinion, we're open. We're discussing to whether or not to reprint all 18 pages of Turbo in progress in our Doom Magazine's #1 anthology alongside our other stories, our anthology stories, and the pros and cons. I think it would be long. I'm thinking long term, even though it would be better, for when the sale comes out of Doom magazines and they come off the press, there will be a window of time before Turbo #1 comes out where that would probably sell better with 18 pages of Turbo. But I'm thinking about later on, what happens when when it's duplicative, and so that's one thing. The other thing is, how long will it take us to get to the finish line if we're making 28 pages and we just, make it a little shorter versus 32 pages where we're generating 4 more pages of zine content. It doesn't take that long, honestly, but it does take some time. So these are the questions. Maybe Mr. Ron Parsons, 1930, has some opinion as we conjecture back and forth here. But I wanted to pose that, number one. These are the decisions that have to be made, and when you're putting stuff out, and we have to come to we will come to a decision by the end of this episode, let's say. Maybe there's something that we haven't considered, but I think those are the main points. What else? So another question is whether or not, well, you said that you're going to be is doing cons and applying to cons in the next couple of weeks and months. You also said you're going to be doing a dollar comic show. That sounds like amazing.
So, main man out there, Dan the Man Snook from Rave Sensations. He's been on a little bit of a hiatus. Last year was a lot of fun under the sun down there and where he's at. But and he's been sending me. It's called, just so everybody knows, East Coast Havre de Grace. Maryland, which is literally like 45 minutes south of me. It's just over the river. And it's called Chud, which I believe is it's comics something under $1. I can't remember what the H stands for. I'm actually trying to find. But it just brings in a whole bunch of area. It says over 30 tables in the room. We have close to 75,000 books in the room. It's $5 to get in. This is March 8th, 2026 in Havre de Grace. If you type in on Facebook C.H.U.D comic book show, and it says Havre de Grace, Maryland, that's where it's at. So Dan and I are meeting up to just buy $1 comics. So it's not like I'm going to be bringing any comics with me.
Right.
You
bring a couple of copies in case you get to talking with people. But
yeah, you're right. I'm totally going down. I've already started creating a list. So, and I'm hiding it from my wife. But yeah,
I don't create lists because worst comes to worst is you get a double. So at $1 I just buy and think later. Buy now, think later.
Buy and think later.
It's cheaper that way. But I'm really jealous. I had a pre-existing commitment, but it sounds interesting. 30 tables does not sound like that much, but
yeah, it's like in one of those. It's like at a Ramada Inn type of thing. Yeah. The photographs are total. It's like one big square room, tables up against the wall, and then a centerpiece of those tables squaring out. So. Yeah, it's not. It's not huge, which is awesome. I love that kind of show.
Not that many tables for a Comic-Con, but it is a lot of tables for a $1 fest. There's going to be a lot of flipping through, and you might, especially at the beginning, you might be shoulder to shoulder with people. If it depends on the turnout, but I never heard of this, so I don't know if people are coming from far and wide, but it's good to hear about it, and I would have definitely driven down if I wasn't busy. So that's going to be great, and you're going to have quite a haul there. So is our pal Dan. So I'm definitely jealous about that. But when is that again?
Well, there are a couple times a year. This is the March 8th. From 10 to 3, I believe it is. Yeah. And if you're on the replay and you're hearing this and you're like, oh crap, I live relatively close and would love to not only buy some dollar comics, but meet myself and Dan, just shoot me any kind of like email, kurtbergel@gmail.com, or get me through Instagram. And we'll definitely make sure that, we see each other.
Uh-oh. Are you planning a meet and greet at an Outback or something? Oh boy.
I was thinking Arby's. American roast beef, yes, sir.
Right.
I told my wife that one once, and she's like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "You don't remember the commercial?" She's like, "What commercial?" American roast beef, yes, sir.
Right. And you can combine that with your chud, and you can get a lot of good mnemonics there. Cool. Yeah. I haven't looked at the convention calendar, for East Coast convention calendar yet. So that's something I need to do. I have this next week off, but it's already starting to fill up with stuff. I've been doing errands already since Saturday, but this is winter break in New York City public schools, and my daughter is also a school teacher. So we are both off, and she wanted to just haul off and go somewhere. So we might go for 2 days, and she picked of all places Boston. So we might go to Boston from like Tuesday to Thursday this week. And so if so, I could definitely use some recommendations. I already found a couple of garage punk gigs to go to. They're having this reunion of this old punk band called the Dogmatics that looks interesting on the Tuesday night. But we're just looking to book some hotels today, some like last minute rates, and then I'll be on the hunt for comic stores and record stores, but mostly comic stores, because I'm not in acquisition mode for records. The only records I would probably, because the records are heavy if I'm on foot and I'm just like taking buses around Boston, or whatever.
You gotta talk to the king, man.
Yeah, but he's not in Boston proper, right?
No, he's not. But I'm sure he's made his way out and around. You know what I mean? Like.
Right. And then how about our heavy metal hero too? He's in.
Oh yeah, Steve McCardle.
Yeah, so he's somewhere in Matt. Yeah, Steve's a cool guy, because I would love to go to, like, I see there's some hardcore shows, or I don't know if they call it hardcore or they call it death metal or whatever. But I see there's some shows with the logos that look like they're branches and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, that is like becoming a very popular T-shirt style. The kind of purposely illegible band name shirts, or band name logos. And I have a buddy that's in a band like that, but his logo is legible, very legible. He's in a band called Fug It, and they're playing. They're playing at Niagara in the city.
Legibility is not cool.
What's that? I know. Well,
it's not cool, man.
It's weird because they have these posters, and it looks like splotches. It looks like splotches of ink on the paper, and then and they also have the coolest names too, like Cow Decapitator and Death Exterminator, So it is definitely a genre, and it has never been my my go-to, but I can definitely appreciate it, and I wouldn't mind going to a show like once a year at least, just to drink it all in, because I love all types of music. But Steve McCardle, he's in a band. Oh, he had a band.
I think it's still going.
Skull Crusher. No, I asked him if they're gigging, and he said no, because I had an open spot at one of my Von Ghouls gigs, and it would have been great to have a Massachusetts band come and play like that crazy.
Yeah.
So he was like, no, but I think his band is called Skull Crusher, right? If I
Yeah.
remember right.
Yeah.
And I play that out when he sent me an album when we were trading
Me
comics.
too. I got it in the car.
Yeah. Well, you have a record player?
No, CD. He gave you vinyl,
Oh,
right?
yeah, no, yeah, you got the CD. Okay. Yeah, I'm like, what are you doing in your
Damn.
car?
What am I
I didn't
doing in my car?
You know,
I'm
CD is like
rocking, dude. I'm
furthest thing from my mind.
rocking.
I don't know. But when
Good
I
morning,
play,
Saboteur.
yeah, I don't know if this will get back to him or anything. But Steve, when I play Soul Crusher, I just play it back and forth over and over and over. Like I'll listen to one side and then just repeat it, and then listen to the other side and repeat it, and just play it like that. Because I love that record so much. It's such a great
It is.
example
Yeah.
of the genre,
Yep.
and the lyrics. You catch more and more lyrics every time you play it. But again, I'm more of a punk guy, so. But these things are great. I love all music. So we are, yeah. So we're in the market for some cons in the spring and summer and all that, and the warm season, and we hope to have Doom magazines in hand at some point by then. Welcome, good morning to Saboteur, and if you're just joining us, we did pose a question for today in the chat, and we're trying to get other opinions on whether or not we should include the full 18 pages in progress so far of Turbo Pit Fighter in Doom Magazine's #1, alongside our Duke and Casualties 6-pagers, or if we should just do the last 6 pages that we finished and limit it to like a 28-pager. Because when we come out with Turbo Pit Fighter #1, finally, it'll be 28 pages all turbo by itself. Will that diminish Doom Magazine's #1, which has 18 of the 28 pages? And I'm worried, yes, but I'm also open right now to arguments on either side. So there you go. But yeah, if you have any opinion, you say yes, but yes or which one? I just said both choices. But Saboteur is a regular, so thanks for popping in.
I'm sure he's saying yes to put the whole 18 in there. Now, I did mention last week that just because you publish something and it's the first 6 pages, or it's the next 10 pages, 12 pages, what have you. I think it's very difficult nowadays to kind of heat seek people, back through a catalog to try to collect a 28-page story, that type of thing. The question really stands on whether, you could flip the question this way. Would putting the 18 pages in the Doom magazine hinder the future sales of Turbo Pit Fighter issue #1? Now, isn't that a lot closer to your question of whether we should or not?
Well, you're talking only about the people that bought Doom Magazine's #1. Otherwise, you have every bit as good a chance to sell a copy, to a new person as you would, somebody that already had Doom Magazine's #1. The question is, if you bought Doom Magazine #1, or if you have a choice and they're sitting there side by side, would there be any value to Doom Magazine's #1 anymore?
I think so, because Ken Landgraf is going to be in there. Talk about heavy metal, man.
Yeah, but that's only a 6-pager. I mean, I'm just being real here.
If you're a Landgraf man or woman, if you're somebody that has to have his stuff, which I hear all the time because of comments, showing off Crom stuff that he's done for me. And currently, I have a 6 pages script with him for Crom and Gervanus. So you'll be seeing some Landgraf.
Fun.
Crom Landgraf.
Yeah, Landgraf's great. But
also Alex Turbin. You got Alex Turbin penciling the Duke. That's random access. That's now 17 pages of stuff that's not going to be somewhere else unless we choose to have. I don't know, man. It's tough. Like my concern for your concern is you might be still living in the past of like the only real access to the comic is, on a table in front of people because, we're doing shows, but we're not even close to doing shows right now. You have an application in for Kingston IndieCon up in Kingston, New York. And then we both have applications in for IC3.
I got rejected for Kingston.
You got rejected?
I got on the waiting list. I think that's a rejection, right?
I don't know. What was the rejection?
It was like you're waitlisted.
That's all the communication was. Thank you for submitting. You're now on a wait list.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that could be just the way they're doing it. They're just waiting.
Same goes for our boy Noah. He got the same thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because we were both hopeful that we get in so we could hang out. But I mean, Kingston is there's a healthy demand, I guess. It's a pretty big annual regional show. And we've never been there before. At least I've never been there before. So they probably had their regulars, and they probably just too much. Not enough space. But I did put in my submission for IC3, and I put in IC3 Jacksonville too. So hopefully those come through. I was a little worried on my application because where it says, have you tabled at an IC3 event before? I put yes, New Haven 2025. But I'm worried if they cross-reference that with their records, they're not going to see anything because I ended up getting a table that came free. I was just kind of like, partnering with you at your table otherwise.
Yeah.
So, hopefully I'm in the back of their mind as, oh yeah, that's the guy that, that filled in when there was a free table. But I don't know if they can remember like hundreds of people like that. So, and I would hate to be like, oh no, this guy's lying or something, So I probably should have put a note in there like, I was originally with Kurt, but then a table became available. I should have like put that in parentheses. I didn't do that. Anyway, fingers crossed. And
I'm going no matter what. I've already established this. I'm just, I'll wait all the way till I forget they're gonna have like 3 months of like 3 months and 3 waves of acceptance. Like they start March 2nd and then April something. May, I think, is the last time that they'll put something out. Yeah, but there will be no shows, and my car will be packed with my stuff, and I'll even show up the day of like the Friday before and just be like, yo, Matt, Kaz, I'm here.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know what I mean? Like I'm still going. There's no not going if you're not in the show, because the show itself is like secondary to me. It's totally secondary. Everybody's going to be there in like.
Well, are they definitely doing the hangouts like they did before?
Oh yeah, like Kazra was saying, like now, like the venue itself has a huge sports bar above it, like because it's an arena. It's a small sports indoor arena, kind of like probably an ice rink kind of thing or something, basketball court or something. But he says it's going to be able to fill like hundreds of people at night, and it'll be right after the show. I think it's like 8 to midnight or something, or 7 to midnight like last time. But we went till like 1 o'clock both nights. I think like 2 o'clock Saturday night we were in the after hanging out with Cosmic Lion Crew, Rick Lopez, and Jamie Jones, and oh gosh, man, I'm getting
You're
blurry
so good
now.
with names. Yeah. I just remember like we were drawing, we were drinking, we
Yeah,
were like BSing. It was really a good
it's great.
time,
It was
and
just
it
you're
was
getting to
just
know
like
each other. I mean,
yeah,
it's
and there
I
was
think it's so much more important nowadays. Um, I think the heyday of like being an anonymous creator of anything and just posting it on internet or Etsy or eBay or whatever to sell it. I just think that's almost like it's going to be like a gone ghost type of thing. It's going to be people, like really wanting, people who are authentically wanting to be part of something collectible that comic books are, but know what you're collecting firsthand from a creator and how they create it, why they created it, and so on and so forth. I'm betting on it. I'm betting on it, man.
you know what's funny when you mix comics and drinking, that's when it gets interesting because I was just sitting there drawing, and there were some times where you were out and about and you were schmoozing and stuff, and I was just like I'm just sitting there. I was
It's
loving,
probably going to get my lemon water, my complimentary lemon and lime water from the courtyard
right,
at the
right,
the
and
Marriott.
and so I was just like kind of like overhearing like the creators that were there and the kind of stuff that they were talking about. And there was this one guy, and I guess this was towards the end of the night. I guess he was was pretty liquored up, and he was just like, I don't care if I make a lot of money. I don't care if this, that, I just want to make comics, man, and
That was me, wasn't it? Wasn't that me?
no, that it was no. This was some guy with kids and stuff and a job and everything, and
Wow.
he was like, he was, he was like, talking about his balance of work and life and everything, and I don't care till the day. We hear it so many times over and over. I'm gonna do this till the day I die, and it's just kind of striking because you're in an atmosphere of people that are open to hearing that, and if you're saying that's to your regular friend group down at like O'Reilly's bar, they're probably going to be like, you're a freaking nerd, man.
Your
Like,
flag.
or
Your
yeah,
flag.
or yeah, or right, or what's wrong with you? Like, why don't you watch like NBA sports? Like
Yeah.
and so it's where people just want and this is, I'm sure this is like after parties from lots of different cons and events and stuff, where it's just people meeting their people meeting your own,
Yeah.
and so yeah, if you're planning to go to Chud, then you can do that with Kurt at the local TGI Fridays.
It's gonna be Arby's, man.
It's
Arby's.
gonna be Arby's.
American roast beef, yes, sir.
Right. Well, yeah, we won't talk about the nitrates, but Saboteur says release turbo on its release turbo on its, my opinion, I guess on its own.
Yeah.
I think some books do better standalone. Well, we are going to continue the tease with the next 6 pages of progress. But yeah, that's I think it creates for a better turbo product if it hasn't been already previewed somewhere else. I mean, we already have the teaser out for the first 12 pages, but these are very limited things. Like over Kurt and my lifetime, the turbo teaser is going to fade away into like just kind of like this cute little thing. And Kurt keeps saying it's going to be collectible and everything. Yeah, but only for our fans. I mean, it isn't going to be mainstream. It's always going to be an indie, kind of rarity. Maybe one day when we're dead,
Yeah, but I still have this I know I don't know if it's egoic or what have you, but, or just like, like, like extremely delusional in hopefulness, but I still feel like there's going to be somewhere there's going to be a little of an anomaly that comes up in comics history, especially when people are just running comic history YouTube channels and looking for content. But they're going to be like, these guys started out every Sunday for like an hour or two back in 2022, and now it's been 4 years or it's 8 years and they only have 2 issues, or you know what I mean? Like, I don't think we're like going about it in any kind of like commercialized way. So there's this anomaly I have a feeling for that could be like, somebody like, I spent $300 buying a copy of Turbo Teaser #2 from Germany, because there was, you know what I mean? Like that's my wishful thinking kind of thing, because you hear that nowadays. Like I'm on the fence with like 3 books that have been printed in the last 5 years, and with shipping, they're $30. It's for issue number 1 and 2 is this one particular. I'm not going to name names because I do it too often. But it's the only place you can get a hold of these books. And until he runs he does a rerun of the issues, which I don't think is going to be likely because, it's just, sitting on another 300 books or 200 books or 100 books or whatever like that. So this is just within the last 5 years. This guy put these 2 comics out that I have to have. And I just keep going to the pay now button. And I look and I'm like, $20 shipping and handling from, I just, there's some weird things going on that I don't think we had when we were, doing it back.
That's it. It's an interesting question. What is the most like this would be good for like a real like collector who knows the market. What is historically the most expensive zine put out so far?
Wow, that is a really great question.
What's the holy grail? What's the holy grail?
Now, do you? Well, would you consider the way that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were printed in that magazine?
No, that's an indie
11 type thing.
No,
that's an indie. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if you remember, I think it was about a year ago. I did come across this auction that was happening. It was the estate of Howie Pyro, who was he was a guitar player for D-Generation, but he later on became like a DJ in LA of note, and he had his own like music podcast. He was a very cool guy, and he was a collector. I hesitate to say hoarder. Oh, by the way, I found out some other information about that auction. But Kurt and I bought some stuff. We bid on some stuff from his auction, and we ended up buying some unattributed comic art, which we're going to talk about later. But he had a collection of zines in there.
Oh, that's right.
And we can see the results. They were pretty rare. And he also had like kind of like the foremost collection of like Black Flag posters and punk posters and flyers and stuff. And it's pretty amazing when you think about just a Xerox flyer that's got like ketchup on it from 1981 or whatever, to be selling for hundreds of dollars. But if it's like the only example of this gig that happened, like somebody who's putting together a coffee table book is definitely going to be after that. And the same thing with the zines. If there's if you look something up on eBay, can't find it anywhere, then it becomes a lot more valuable. I think there's no record of it on the web. There's no history. So I'm sure that there's zines. I'm there has to be some zines that have gone into the thousands, or if not tens of thousands. I mean, what if it was somebody famous like Kurt Cobain, or all this kind of stuff is possible. But it's a question I'd like to pose, and I don't know, maybe somebody in the chat with a couple of free fingers wants to look it up. If not, we'll look it up. But the idea like of a zine, because I would say our Turbo teaser is more of a zine than a comic, right? And we're just like fantasizing about, oh yeah, it's going to be like this great collector's item, when we're long gone. Who knows? I mean, sure, could be, but then there's, for every one of those, there's like 10 guys that made zines that no one's ever heard of them, and they do, all known copies are destroyed. So, you got to worry about that. Like the worst thing would be to just, be lost forever, And there was a famous quotation, I forget who it was, but it was like, when you die twice. The first death is when your body dies, and the second death is when the last person says your name.
Oh yeah.
The last time a person.
That's
The last time,
yeah,
the last time a person says your name, right? So, a lot of artists are really, there's plenty of mercenary artists, or in fairness, artists that just have to pay their bills. But there's a lot of artists that are just trying to create something for art's sake, and they, really are just trying to like entertain people in the, now or in the future. And it's an amazing technology, art, that takes you back to like the first time that cave people were making marks on the wall, because it's like the first time, like somebody could come a year later and see the same marks on the wall, and that was like the technology, like, wow, you can make a permanent communication like it lasts forever, or at least 18,000 years. The most sought Saboteur to the rescue. The most sought after zines are generally early punk, groundbreaking feminist riot girl, or niche sci-fi fanzines from the 1970s and 80s, often valued for their historical significance and rarity. Right. So thanks, Saboteur, for looking that up. I was looking for like a name of like the number one, but I guess maybe there isn't one individual zine that stands out. But I do want to mention something that my buddy Rick has a couple copies of. I'm going to close this for a second because I took photos of it, and I'm going to bring him up now. I was waiting for an opportunity to talk about this. But Kurt, do you remember Foom?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah.
There's a real big difference in the value. Here we go. So my buddy Rick. Oh shoot! I only have one picture. Okay. Well, I have two issues here, and he has a collection of graphic novels, and he's like, "Hey, Jake, can you help me sell these? Maybe you offer these when you're at a table or something." And so I don't know why this won't go sideways, but here you can see my buddy Rick has Foom number 11. This is a Jack Kirby cover, and it's all about Jack Kirby. Jack's back. This came out in the 70s, and Foom standing for Friends of Old Marvel. It was a zine that was put out by, I don't remember who. It wasn't like Steranko or anything, but somebody was putting this out, and they had, the permission, I guess, from Marvel to use these licensed characters in a zine. There were, you can see here that there's 3-color plate here. There's a 3-color plate here. This is Starlin doing Silver Surfer and Captain Marvel. And these are worth a couple of bucks. I think these are worth like, tens of dollars. But if you get the X-Men cover of Foom, then you're 10xing the values of these things. And he didn't have those. My friend Rick didn't have those, but he had I think like 3 or 4 copies of Foom, and those are considered zines, but they're comic-y, right? Because they have all these comic artists and comic characters. And look at this cool back cover. They did a parody of Master Kung Fu versus Iron Fist, but they call it Mistress of Kung Fu, the Hands of
Nice.
Shang-Chi,
It's hot.
Marvel Comics, and there's Su Manchu and there's Iron Sis. So they were gender bendering, and I want to say this looks like early John Byrne, but I hesitate. I think it's somebody else. This might be like Zach or something. I don't know who did this art, but Foom was an interesting magazine, and I know that that the good copies, like there was what was the other one? There was an X-Men cover that was very valuable, and I forget what the other one was that was very valuable, but it's like worth 10 times more than the others. So it's worth like $600 or in good condition or something, or $400. I'm just going by memory, but I was learning about it as I was looking up the pricing for my buddy, and that would definitely be considered a zine, and it's also very comics adjacent. So it's interesting talk. The thing that might concern people though is, if in the future you have something like we're talking about that gets to be valuable because they only put out like 50 copies of this back in 2023 or 2025. What is to prevent somebody from putting out more, and just trying to deceive collectors, right?
Yeah, it's called forgery. That's called forgery.
Right, but
it's happening all the time. Happens more than I think people recognize.
Right, but will the technology be such that anybody can do it if you have a copy in your hand, that you can make an undetectable forgery from a copy in the future? I think maybe the technology will be that good, as opposed to, you and me, we have the original, or if you're buying a PDF, those are lower resolution, right? You can't run those off on a printer, right?
Yeah, well, it depends on the resolution of the printer.
Well, what are we selling the Turbo PDF at? What resolution is that at?
100, I think.
Right, so that's too low to print, right? So that's
to get a crisp copy. Like if somebody was then to like try to authenticate, because the thing about art is the authentication and the provenance. What's been the life of that art. That's the thing. And you can do it by analysis of paper, ink, or any other kind of not even like printer ink,
forensics.
But it's very much thing. But see, you also have to understand is like people are not going to willy-nilly just try to knock one-offs for $10. They're going to try to knock off something that's going to like exceed. But you have to be careful because you can fluctuate the market itself to a point where you might think you have something of a greater value and you try to put it out on the open market and people are like, well, why the fuck is that worth that much? I have these things over here and they're worth just a little bit more than. So you got to be like, as a forger, you've got to be like really, really careful. Yeah. But if you're going to play out to a bunch of dummies, you know what I mean? At a dollar show in Havre de Grace, you know what I mean? Like, you might be able to knock off a couple of bucks, be like, hey, you really want something? I've got this thing. It's, not $1, it's $10, but it's just somebody running off another version of Foom. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
That's just bootlegging though, right? That's bootlegging.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, I used to work in the autograph industry. I was a graphic designer for a catalog for more than 10 years. And I learned a lot about the industry. I mean, there are people that have blank sheets of paper from the 1700s.
Yeah.
And they have ink from the 1700s, right? Yep. That they use to make forgeries because they know that the forensics can be traced. Yep. And they're duplicating Thomas Jefferson or whoever, which are worth a couple of thou. And if they can pull, if they have the skill in their hand, and they could also do it over a light table, you could fool people. And so it was very hard in that business to sometimes authenticate things, because you would have one authenticator, like my boss, who had a money back guarantee on everything he sold, versus the guy across the street might say, especially with John Kennedy, because John Kennedy he was notoriously like on these back pain medications. And so John Kennedy's autograph is really, really hard to authenticate, because he was not consistent in signing things. And he also had his secretary signing some stuff. And then, there was also some auto pens, but there's also a lot of forgeries. So one of the most controversial figures in, presidential autographs is JFK, and he signed a lot of very consequential things. But it's only as good as the certificate of authenticity, So there's that. And we always have kind of like a range of discussions. And anybody, if you're watching this in the future and you're watching a replay, feel free to chime in with your favorite zine stories in the comments, because we love to hear stuff, from all corners about, what's the most valuable zine you have ever come across or heard of or whatever. And, was it comic related? Was it music related? They talk about the Riot Girl zines, those were music related. And there was kind of like this feminist 1990s kind of like feminist movement of all girl bands, and it's something that I really follow. I collect, all girl band music, and I've always had, like the CDs. You have some cool bands that are very, very lesser known, but have been around for a long time. The Red Ants is a good example, and Broadzilla, and L7 is an example of a band that did get their due a little bit. But there's all different countries. You got the Bunaras, and you have the Go-Go's were the first all girl band to hit #1 Billboard charts for an album, and that was in the 80s. So that's the first time that all girl bands got their due. And ironically, they knocked Joan Jett off the #1 album. So that was another female artist. But it's it probably is very historic nowadays. The bands that were the zines that were talking about that and reporting on it and documenting it and everything. There might be some interviews, and there might be some like information that people didn't have, that don't have from any other source. Love all that kind of stuff. But we also have a weekly question that I asked Kurt. Kurt, what did you do this week? Did you get any comics?
I did.
Yeah,
I did. I got finally Adam Lemna's issue 2 of Relic Hunter. Adam was one of the first people we reached out to, based on a comic haul by Dan the Man Snoke over at Rave Sensation. And when Dan opened up this page to Adam's Relic Hunter #1, I immediately tracked it down and got a hold of a copy. And of course, I've become very good friends with Adam, internet friends. Was able to actually meet the man. He was the first person to meet, as well as Rick Lopez and Ro Higashi went last year at IC3 on Friday. Getting our tables, but a long time in the making. And well worth it, even to the point. This is Ian Cinco's pinup for Relic Hunter, and pretty badass. It is. I don't want to spoil it, but when you ask me, like, if I'm what I got into this week, 9 times out of 10 I'm watching 70s and 80s exploitation. And You know, you want to talk about a second nailing of a first page in an indie comic, you know, A Dream of Glass and Steel. This is a, you know, he even puts it in here, Relic Hunter, you know, and the lights. But the two movies, talk about like a double header. Can you imagine sitting for 3 hours in a theater and watching Escape from New York and then Miss 45? Holy. And let me say this too. It's not a dead setup. In other words, this sets it up. I mean, he goes into a Landgraf, you know, New York City Outlaws type of thing. But the way he moves through the story, it's also with. By the way, I want to do a shout out to Manny Gomez. Manny and him are pretty much tag teaming on this, though. The art is being totally handled, you know, to the finishing point, the finishing line by Adam. But dude, I mean, I spent literally like I only read like 5 or 6 pages at a time because and I'm going to go back and read both 1 and 2 either tonight or tomorrow because the inspiration and motivation was like so dead on with me because of watching all of these exploitation crap movies, you know, which most people think, but they have so much life in them, like in comparison to what else is going on out there on Netflix and all this other shit, in my opinion. But I'm only going to show the first 2 pages here. There's also you know, for the story, but there is that's the last page. But the amount of just incredible pinups by some of the you know indie creators out there is totally amazing. So I actually bought 3 copies and then 2 more copies of 1 and 2, and this week I will be getting both of them on cromthebarbarian.com. I'm going to sell them at I'm actually selling them at a loss because I'm not trying to make any money on them. It's just, I want there to be a heavier sense of association among indie comic artists, but, you know, specifically with Crom the Barbarian, the sword and sorcery fantasy sort of element. So if somebody's there and they're shopping the other artists on cromthebarbarian.com and they see these, there'll be an opportunity to get a good box full of comics and just really dive down into it. But that was my biggest highlight of the week. Other than this,
what's that?
I actually got this a couple of weeks ago, and I had it off to the side, but I kept burying it every time I was going and getting copies of a copy of a comic to, you know, refer and show on there. Dude, I got this at my local comic shop, which I'm going to be having probably some more announcements, if you will, because the owner, through a friend of ours, mutually reached out and we had a little powwow and talked about, you know, comics and indie and all the such. But down the road for another time. I went through his dollar bins. I only got through about 8 cases because it was like nighttime and it's getting close to closing for him and everything. But definitely going to go back there. Got some really good stuff. I'll show off the other stuff later. But I did take a real quick flip through the $5. You know, and my eye is always on anything indie. And of course, anything Faust/Tim Vigil, whether it's him or not, I'm still gonna get it. And bought it. Now, this is a little bit of a disappointment, but then as I've been going through it reading wise, it's a interview. It's like I don't know what it's kind of more like a magazine in a sense, but the bonus is this: there's a breakdown of you know, because the chapters of Faust are in acts, you know, so it's act 1, act 2, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of like breakdown. There's a lot going on there. But in the back here,
Yeah.
well, gosh, they really are back here, aren't they? Yeah, here it is. So Act 12 pencils. So I probably will scan these pencils and print them out, so I can then ink over the top of them. Just, it was like that was good enough for me to just have some pencils, running. This is when he was with Avatar, which I heard was a very contentious place, relationship between the two of them. You talk about indie comics, you talk about, like, I remember getting Faust when I was 13 or 14 years old. You know what I mean? Like, or maybe it was later. I can't remember when Faust came out. No, it must have been later. It must have been later because I think it's late 80s. And by then I'm about 18, 19 years old. But anyhow, didn't really matter. But it wrecked me, like, as a developing artist, like, not because of the maturity of the content, but it was just, how is this guy doing it? And still to date, like, let me see if I can find an appropriate. Yeah, here's a good appropriate.
So if that's just out,
no, it's not just out. It's not just out. It's not. This is 2000. 2000. This came out 2000. Yeah, really? Avatar's not even around.
Right.
I don't think Avatar's even around. This is 2000.
I think I have all the Avatar Fausts, and I've never seen that.
I have never seen this either. So this might be something, once I'm finished with it, it could become a training piece between the two of us. So anyhow,
well, you got to read it all and
oh, hell yeah. Oh, I have to. But those are my two big highlights for the week.
Yeah, Faust is very interesting. Tim Vigil is one of my favorite pen and ink men, and you just cannot believe, like, the shock value. There's also a comic that he did called EO.
Yes.
And like the content, the just like the graphic nature of it, it's
disturbing.
Yeah, no one's ever seen anything like that. It's like the combination of graphic sex and gore, I think. I don't think you've seen it anywhere else. And, here he is, one of the most gifted pen and ink men to come along since, Wrightson and Frazetta and all those guys, right? And, Frank Brunner. I mean, he's just a classic, old-timey, style. And he doesn't skimp with backgrounds. His anatomy is, like, really good. And so I've collected almost everything he's ever done, but you're not for children and not for some adults either. It's just it's like I think they're and I don't know a thing about David Quinn. I've always been confused by the storylines, but it's they're going for something that is like positively demonic, as far as
you don't think it's just a simple, like, exploitation shock value. I mean, I've never found any, like, quote unquote story level depth in the works, other than I will say that John Jaspers, as the name of Faust, like, and being an artist, because Jasper Johns is a famous modern post expressionistic pop art, but other than that, like, never really concluded, like, oh damn, that's some really I don't want to say deep, but it's like connecting storyline. It's all eyeball candy. I mean, you just, like, you're going insane with the amount of, like, detail and movement from panel to panel. And like you said, there is no empty space. There's nothing lacking in the quality and continuity of his
his early stuff,
his work.
you could see his early stuff. You know, he would have like a blast panel in the background, or or some, maybe like some toning, like some gradient as a background. But then as he got more mature, it's like, nope, he's going to put in like a background full of ferns and rhododendrons and bricks and like or like a filigree tablecloth. It's like, he just takes on every challenge in art, and that's why he's a fantastic, supreme pen and ink artist from the 80s and 90s. And I pretty much collect everything he's ever done. That said, what and this might be harsh, but what an opportunity lost, for him not to go into like Marvel and DC. Not, I mean, maybe he doesn't like give a crap about Marvel or DC, but not to go into like some kind of like mainstream indie thing. Like,
he's very hard. He's very hard to work with. He's even
I just think he could have been like at the highest level of whatever, because of his just innate ability. And he always chose this path of doing his own characters, and I know he always did well at conventions. I even bought a sketch off him once. But I just think, like, can you imagine if he would have like taken over Hellboy or like, just some property, just for a couple issues.
But I think that's the problem, Jake, is that he would have to not be him. It would just be his visual approach templated over.
No,
and I think I think it absolutely causes him emotional harm to do that. I really do believe that. I believe that's the constructive makeup of it, and that's just the way it is. And he seems to. I mean, I don't think he's struggling to pay rent. But yeah, you're right. I mean, he's gonna go down, not in a Mount Rushmore way, which he deserves to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think he will. As I remember, he'll do whatever character you request at a con or something.
Sure.
But to really just not ever compromise and sell out to the man or whatever. That's always been an interesting footnote about him. But definitely one of my favorites as far as improving your art, challenging yourself, and looking at a great draftsman. Definitely. So I've been reading my Crumb biography, and I've gotten deeper and deeper into, I think we're up to like 1974 now in the Crumb biography, and we're just at the point where they're introducing Aline Kaminsky, right? Let me grab the stuff.
Aileen? Yeah, Aileen, his last wife, second wife.
Yeah, so I'm reading this book page by page. I'm really savoring, and he's up to the, they're just introducing Aline Kaminsky. So, Crumb was in the, like, talk about a charmed life. Crumb himself says, that he got women because of his, he was a chick magnet because he was famous and he was this great artist and he did album covers and, he invented underground cartooning and all that stuff. But, he also had this kind of like open marriage after a while with Dana, his first wife. And, she was with this other guy named Paul who lived on the compound. And, they described like Crumb got along with him. They were like doing the chores together. And, it was the hippie days, right? And
commune.
Yeah, hippie commune, right. I mean, I lived on one myself. I could tell you stories myself about being on a hippie commune when I was a kid. But, there's these interviews where he explains that once he got famous, he never really had to compromise. And like when he worked at American Greetings doing cards, he was not very happy doing that. But after like by the 1970s, he could do whatever he wanted, and he could draw on any topic, and he could work for this guy and not that guy, and just take work that he felt like doing selectively. And think about it, like that was 1974. That's like an entire lifetime of having artistic freedom and liberty. So he's done all of these things, like these sketchbooks. He did portrait books. He did the graphic novel of the Genesis Bible. Like whatever he wants to do. He never had, talk about a guy that never had to compromise. He could just pick and choose the projects he wanted to work on, because he was able to make enough money. He could get an advance. He could work for Frantic Graphics, or he could do whatever. He just put out his first comic in like 25 years recently with Frantic Graphics, and it's all new stuff. So it's really interesting to see like what happens when you get your druthers. um but there's also this kind of undercurrent of controversiality, because some of his work was banned, some of it was explicit, some of it was misogynistic, and Crumb readily admits that in modern interviews now. You could go to Crumb's website right now, and it's run by this guy named Alex Wood. Well, I'm not sure it is, but he's like some kind of associate of Crumb. But if you go to Crumb Products right now, you can buy signed print. You could buy serigraph. You could buy Giclée prints. Giclée, how do you say that? Giclée prints. Giclée. Thank you. Prints. You can buy, if you go to crumbproducts.com, or if you just put rcrumb.com, you can buy comics right from the family right now for $5 a piece. And you could buy graphic novels too. So it's a great site. I'm about to put an order together for some Fritz the Cat t-shirts that I don't have. And before I do, I want to ask Rick, my autograph guy, if he wants to buy any of these signed prints, because some of them are like they're on the last one. And it's really interesting because the price went up. I bought one a couple years ago, a Crumb print right off the website, a signed Crumb print right off the website, and I don't even think I paid like $250 for it. It was like this old-fashioned car, that he did. That was a great print.
$2.50.
No, $250. You trying to make a joke? So yeah, if you go to the official Crumb site right here, rcrumb.com. So you can get a just how do you say it again?
Giclée
edition of this print, 15 panel print, but this is not signed. So this is $120. If you want something signed, you can get the Devil Girl with Mr. Natural for $380. And I think they say right here they only have 10. There's only 10 prints left, and there's 80 signed and numbered prints. And they talk about the whole coloring process and everything. I don't love the coloring that was done by this Alex Wood guy, but they say that R made the color guide for him. To me, it seems a little yellow to me, a little bright, but you know what? This is probably a great investment, because this it's $380, and whatever the shipping is, but that's going to double up when what happens, and these things have already doubled up since the ones I bought. So here's another one you can get for $470. This one's called Bookworms. I think everybody's like probably looking for his best characters on prints and stuff. But here's serigraph prints. You got the Devil Girl. You have Mr. Natural at the Crossroads, $400. There's a Kiwi serigraph for $380. You got to make sure it says signed and numbered, $420. The Monkey Wrench Gang. Stoned Again, signed and numbered, sold out. Robert Crumb self-portrait, sold out. This might be a lot of money for the average workaday Joe Sixpack, $300-400. Here's Bob and Harv's cover with this with this big Crumb woman on there. But it's going to appreciate. Oh, that one's sold out. Never mind. So I'm going to recommend my buddy Rick buy a few of these because he knows a good investment and he does not hesitate to pull the string. And I'm just going to be like, well, I'm just getting some t-shirts. I'm just nibbling, but they have some nice t-shirts, very reasonably priced, $22. And these are real silkscreen t-shirts, not heat transfer crap. So I'm gonna get the Fritz the cat in dark gray and the Fritz the cat in silver. Mr. Natural is also a good one, but I think these are great to wear because they're conversation starters. And sometimes you
pervert.
What's that? What'd you say?
Well, the conversation is going to start with, "Oh, is that our Crumb t-shirt?" Pervert.
Right, exactly. Well, sometimes, yeah. Now, if you like I was getting to, if you go here, to the website, they have this interview that you can read that he did with some young female journalist, and he readily admits that he did inappropriate stuff. It would never fly today. I don't know what I was thinking. It's sometimes, he said, for better or worse, he just let his own psyche go wild on the page, and he had to put that stuff out because it was, therapeutic for him. And, the interviewer is trying to say well, you only did those things on paper, but then Crumb says, that if it would have been the sensibilities of the Me Too movement, if it would have been back then, that he would have been in trouble hundreds of times, because in those days, these are his words, women just let you do it in those days, and
do what?
I think there was a lot of groping and other stuff, but in the biography in this book right here, it says that one of the things that he used to do was he used to jump on the back of strong women without, as a surprise, without telling them, and that it was a very weird habit, and sometimes it got him into trouble because the woman wasn't expecting that and everything, but it was one of his weird fantasies, that
it's all in the documentary. I mean,
right.
the 92 documentary. I mean, Jesus Christ. It's just, that when he's talking about the physique of his woman, like the bean shape and the shelf on her, from her back to her buttocks, all the depth of emerging into his, his psyche, his id, the shadow, as Freud says, is then revealing things. And then therefore him being on some bad acid, afterward, he was living on the aftermath of this bad acid trip he had.
So you're thinking of the brother. The brother had the bad.
No. He was he said almost 2 years. He had side effects, and it was also excessive marijuana smoking, and the inhibitions were just basically dissolved in his the way he acted, the way he wanted to make this stuff and everything. It's all in there, because I don't know if this interview has anything to do with the movie interview, which is from a woman. The woman starts with My brother I have an older brother, and he collected your comics. And one time I was in his room looking for, Crayola markers or, something I needed. Went under his bed. I pulled out this box of comics, and all I saw was this perversion portrayed upon women. And I was just a little girl. And he was like, "Whoa, sorry about that." That's how the interview starts with her.
Yeah.
But what everybody keeps gravitating to, which is the hard stuff, the hardcore stuff, is literally what I just said. Is that he went deep into what not Freud, excuse me, Carl Jung called the shadow, which is just basically the darker part of ourselves, and then rested there, and then just started finding this imagery and these stories and these characters and stuff like that, and then started putting them out there. And it was also reactionary to anxiety and abuse that he went through with his parents, not only his father. So I'm not trying to give anybody any kind of like pass in the way of like acceptance and behavior towards especially women. But then at the same time, it's like, what are we supposed to do? Like it's like prison. You know what I mean? If somebody does something horrible, and then the state says, "Okay, we have found you guilty, and this is your sentence."
No, it's funny. You got to read the interview. It's funny because he asked the woman, like, she says she likes his stuff, and he's surprised by that, and he's like, "Oh, aren't you offended?" Like like I think he's so used to it at this point.
Yeah.
And and in the biography, the biographer Dan Nadel, he calls R, the martyr, right? Like
the what?
he
the martyr,
the martyr. Martyr, like the martyr, like he puts himself personally, like a lot of these, stories are autobiographical, but they're all,
he illustrates himself doing these things.
Right. But then after a while, he just started illustrating himself, and he was like young Crumb, and, Crumb's, perverted fantasies and everything. And, it's something that he went through right on the open page for everybody to see. And Dan Nadel says, the biographer says, he took that on so that other, that opened things up for other people. And as far as like, all right, we're not going to censor things anymore the same way, and you don't have to, you can put anything out there. There's this incredible honesty that you can portray, if and everybody has like a limit of how much you're willing to to actually share, but these are actual thoughts, and these are actual feelings and compulsions that everybody has. So he says, like, he's the sin eater, he'll take the blame, and he'll be the the person, so and he does take the blame, right? And now there's this whole I guess Wild West of uncensored comics that people have been making for decades, without having to work. You just have to answer to your readers, but there's no longer this kind of like they called it like a middle class sensibility, where there was do's and don'ts, and comics was one of the the first things that was censored, because it was it was considered like a kid's media,
disposable, lowbrow.
Right. But they also then their heroes were like Kurtzman, who did Mad Magazine, and then Little Annie Fanny, and stuff like that. And the irreverence of it was like everything about the 50s was like boredom and rebellion, and how can we break away from this, like leave it to Beaver mentality, with race and with gender and with all this kind of stuff. So that was the groundbreaking thing that Trump did, Crumb I said Trump, that Crumb did, that that just put it all out on the page for better or worse. And now he's living with, he's living in France for decades, isolated, and he's fine. Like the dude's got money for sure, but it's he does get a lot of heat. Sometimes he might get like insulted or or canceled or whatever, and he talks very openly. He talks very, very openly about that.
Canceled.
Yeah, those are his words. So it doesn't cost anybody anything to go on to the website, read that whole interview. It's interesting. I've also been reading through this, and I didn't realize this, but this was, I think I showed you this last week. The Apex Treasury of Underground Comics. This was the printer Dan Donahue put out all these underground comics that he published, and this came out in 1974. They sold a bunch of copies, and then they put it out again in 1981. And it's kind of like one of these flip things, because Bijou, the best of Bijou funnies, Bijou, it was the underground comic that came out of Chicago, and it was kind of like a very particular set of cartoonists, including Skip Williamson and the Nard and Pat guy, Jay Lynch, Jay Kinney, and there's some great pictures of here. You can see here, this is what Crumb looked like when he was younger. So this was like 68, and they were talking about all this stuff. And then you get here into the comics, and there's tons and tons of comics. So this is funny because I was just noticing that this right here is a sticker, and they jacked up the price at some point. I don't know what's printed underneath here, and I was thinking about peeling it. But on this side, the sticker is square, and it just covers whatever the old price was. But on this side, it was like a circle, and they had like this box here that says adults only. So they had to cut this little sticker here in this shape, and that was probably a pain in the ass for them, to somebody to do with a scissor. And then they put the $14.95 over it. So this price was hiked up, and they had to sticker it in order to get the price hike in 1981. And this is kind of falling apart with the spine, unfortunately. Right here, you can see.
How old is that? How old is that printing?
81.
81. Wow.
Yeah, it was reprinted in 81, but they didn't change a thing. It was all the exact same like edition that came out originally in 1974. And it's got some heavy duty stuff in there too. So they were selling lots and lots of copies. They were selling runs of 20,000, 50,000. And the Zaps, got into the hundreds of thousands. You could still buy. Well, Zap 7 was still on R. Crumb's website. You could buy a copy for $5, but it's sold out. Here, watch this. These are the comics for sale right on the official Crumb site right now. The new one, $6. Mr. Natural number 3, $5. Hup number 1 and 2, $5. I think I have this one. Here's Hup number 3 and 4. These were put out later. I think these might have even been put out like in the 80s or something. Here's Zap number 7 sold out. Zap 15 you can still buy right off his website. And then Art and Beauty, $10. And it says out of print. Oh, sold out. Sorry. So yeah, you can get some Hups, and you can get the new one, and you can get Mr. Natural. So not that much. So 4. No, and 1 Zap. So 6 comics you can buy, $5 a piece, right from the man himself, right from the family. And that's a great deal, And if you put together an order, get some T-shirts or whatever, make it worth your while. I think it's being shipped from the U.S. I'm not sure. It wouldn't make sense. It is. Yeah, it wouldn't make sense.
Jake, I got to jump out real quick. I'll be right back.
Okay. So while Kurt's away, I have something I want to say behind his back, and I have it handy. Where is it? Right over here. I guess he hasn't seen any of my Substack posts yet, but I've been doing this. Crom behind his back, and I have. It's really cool. I have like 8 pages all penciled already in blue line pencil. So when he comes back, see, I wrote right here. Shh, don't tell. And it's this cool story. It goes from here to here to here to here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, I'm back.
Oh, never mind. So yeah. Yeah, Kurt, we have to we really have to finish this project. I'm proud to say that I finished 3 pages last Sunday. I know I was only working on 1 or 2 when we were on the air, but I stayed with it. And
so I wanna make an announcement on the tail end of what you just said. I have officially just finished inking the End of the World timeline, which you were referring to originally as the tableau. And so I have already started scanning. I use this as our title card, like for this YouTube channel, this YouTube episode. But I will be scanning these this week and then getting them to you. I'm also going to stitch them together. So because everybody needs to know that Jake did this amazing, which I have the original drawing in a frame in my studio. It's on an 18 by 24, but it's definitely
16 by 20.
Yeah, 16 by 20 is probably the best for that. But I'll scan these in and then I'll stitch them all together, so then we would have at least a black and white poster version if we wanted to go that route for a show or something like that. Or if you wanted to then colorize them, obviously after we've gotten Doom magazines. But these are going to be used, some of these will be used as the kind of like title plate before the stories that are throughout Doom magazine.
Yeah, the lead-in pages.
The lead-in pages and stuff. So and we are at we're at 11:40. So is that right? Yeah, we've only been doing it. Oh, wow. Because I'll be able to now start heading over to
What is Kurt doing? He's bombing.
Oh yeah. Now I have to double check because I'm going to go over to my computer, which is right next to me. I got to double check that I do have these all scanned. I can't start doing my my thing yet on the last 10 if I don't have these. I'm pretty sure I have these scanned, but I'm super excited that I am now completed my duties as a contributor to Doom Magazine's End of the World Anthology #1.
Oh yeah, which means I have to do my bit now.
So do you want to give us a rundown? Let me grab a piece of paper just so everybody, myself included. So I got to get this out of the way because God forbid if there's a bleed. So excuse me. So we have lettered Turbo, right? Next 6 pages, right?
Yeah.
All right. So next 6 pages, check. We have lettered, and I use the royal we, but it's really you.
The French we. The French we.
Landgraf. Casualties.
Done. Yeah.
6 pages. Done. Then we have lettering
for the Duke happening
now. Duke
live on the
now 11 pages. So this is a star. Then the 2-pager of
that's
Cremita.
all self-contained. Yeah, that's all done.
So that's done. And then we're looking at, okay, so let's go back to the beginning of our episode here. We have, at that point, including some pinups, Landgraf pinup, a page or 2, little sketch cards of Turbo from Noah and Ralph. We are at
you
28
got to send me all the
pages.
elements.
28 pages. Huh?
Before I forget, you got to send me all the elements. High res.
What element? The ones I just finished?
No, anything that's going to go in, so I can make the zine pages. I need
because I mean, I have even like I made these. These are just like fun little doodles. Oh, here's the. I'm gonna ask Noah for a better scan. I think he just took a picture of it, but this is Noah's.
You gotta send me that high res.
Yeah, well, I need a flat scan of it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I just
have
a
couple of comments here. Saboteur says the Turbo teaser is fantastic, spectacular work. Thank you, Saboteur. The most sought after zines we spoke about. There isn't one single Action Comics #1 of zines that everyone agrees on, or a holy grail. But Riot Girl and early punk zines are considered the most expensive. Really, I wonder how much they sell for. And Ron Parsons says, hi, good morning. We have Shelob's Lair of Drawing coming in.
Yeah, that's James Anthony, everybody. James Anthony Art over on Instagram. Check him out.
Hey, James. And he says Faust rules, which I agree. I have every Faust I could get my hands on, but still trying to figure out the story. It's really hard edge stuff.
Dense.
But it's not like an easy follow for me. I don't know.
It's simple. It's not simple-minded.
Yeah, I mean, I flip through the art and I'm just like, I'm just like bewildered at how cool the art is. So the writing always took a back seat, but I think there was some story that they had some bigger offers on the table, for like serializing or franchising or something like that. Maybe like a cartoon or something. I forget, but we'll talk about that a different day, I guess. Yo, dudes. So right now you're just trying to make an inventory of all the little extras that we have to put together for the zine, right? For the zine page.
All I'm trying to actually do. How many pages are you in on the Duke right now?
I'm on page 4.
Okay, so you're on page 4. All right. I'm just going to keep this over here. So that's not bad. I know you had said last week that, for each of these title pages or even a spread for zine stuff, like we have here, could take a day, 3-hour session. But I guess the only thing I'm concerned at this moment is if there is anything else that I could contribute in the way of maybe inking doodles. Because I did this doodle ink and this doodle ink, Mr. and Mrs. Ike. And once again, this was on a format where I was really pushing you to just give me text and sketches and text and they were going on the Substack and Mrs. Ike might not have anything to do with the block of text about Elevena, but it just didn't, in my feeling, matter. But you have the end of the line, end of the world timeline here, which basically lists out a lot of the elements. Where we've got, you've got casualties here. You have Secret Chronicles of the Duke. We have Cremita. We're adding the Company Man, which Sebastian, which we could actually talk about. Kind of share a little bit more about this. But I don't, right now, I don't want you to feel like the pressure's on to get the book completed, Jake. like you're just supposed to do what you're supposed to do and accomplish in 3 hours. That's what we've established. That's what we're going to hold on to. And I don't want you to have any anxiety in like, oh shit, I'm holding up the train, because you're not. You're just doing what has to be done in order to make a perfect piece of art. So I think from here on out, though, the only thing outstanding would be, are we going to go from, are we going to hold it 28 pages? That would be a topic, which would kind of eliminate having to do extra fan pages, extra zine pages with info dumping on it. And just, like I said, just giving you,
if you want to make our final rundown, I think we can do that, because if we are agreeing that we're just going to do the 6 pages of Turbo, so we're going to have a lead-in page for the casualties. We're going to have a lead-in page for the Duke, right? This is going to be like a page. So then we're going to have a page that is going to update the bullet points, right? And there could be a lot of fun, interesting stuff on that page. But we basically want to take those bullet points and we want to turn them into, the index, right? Because those bullet points is what became the index. Am I right?
Yes, you're right.
Okay, so then each section will have a little blurb. Now there's also going to be some new stuff to add, which are just characters in development that we want to.
Well, are we going to do a lead-in? I'm sorry, are we going to do a lead-in page for Turbo as well? Because I mean, you're just dumping people on page 13. Shouldn't there be some kind of like mashup page, like previous?
That's a good point. That's a good point. I don't know if it needs to be a whole page just to itself, because we're only.
Well, we could use either Noah and or Ralph's pinups, like sketch cards.
Right, and we have the Landgraf pinup too.
Oh, that's true too.
Yeah, and we also have the inside back cover too, right?
Oh yes, yeah, that could be a great. Oh yeah. That's right. We got those as well.
So these are decisions to be made, but it's great that you're getting these all down on a
because I just don't want to be like la-di da-di, Yeah,
let's get it all on a piece of paper.
All right,
and
inside front, inside back.
Inside front is going to be the indicia page, and it could have what did I say last week I wanted on the inside front cover? It was the ISBN information and the Doommags indicia, and I think there was something pretty specific I want. Oh, because if we were gonna jump right into the casualties, then the lead-in page could be the inside front cover. I think I was like last week talking about I would like the first page to just like jump right into the comic,
right?
The first comic story,
right?
So if we run right, so here's a question: what's the sequence going to be?
Oh wow!
Because
you've already. I mean, you've been okay. So I have to say, we could go about it in a continuity of time, right? Because characters are all kind of coming in at different points of time, and the last thing could be Turbo. Like the last 6 pages would be Turbo, because it's chronologically she's the last.
Makes sense.
So what? So she's the last.
So the Duke comes before the casualties, though, if we do it chronologically,
right?
And
Cremita is a part of the casualties.
Yeah, right. Cremita could run before the casualties because it kind of introduces the casualties at the end. But do we want to do that? Do we want to do chronological, or do we want to
Oh, I'm
read
just
off?
suggesting. I'm not saying.
I
I
know
just. I was really. It was a long way of asking you a question. What's the chronologicalness of these stories? Don't you think Alex and I's like 11 pages? Our 11 pages as art would be good middle.
Yeah, I think we might want to lead off with Ken Landgraf, and then because we also kind of went back and forth on the casualties cover that I
Yeah,
did,
yeah,
and
yeah,
that's
yeah,
done in the can.
yeah.
The only thing that you pointed out that I did end up agreeing with is that instead of saying the casualties real big, it should say Doom Magazine real big.
Okay.
Right. So we could change. So I could change that, and then we'll use the casualties cover, at least for my cover,
Sure.
and then start out. So then we'll start out with the casualties.
Yeah, I love it. I love
Because
it. And then so it would go Ken Landgraf, Casualties, the Duke, Cremita, Turbo.
Well, don't forget the lead-in pages.
Yeah. No. I'm just saying we're just talking the flow of the
So
story.
inside front is the lead into the casualties and the ISBN and the indicia. Then on the right, page 1 is just boom, the casualties page number 1. Then you have the lead-in page for the Duke. Then you have the Duke. Then you have the lead-in page for Turbo, and then the Cremita at the end, or Cremita goes before Turbo, one or the other. But I think we're just narrowing it down.
It's good. It's real good. Because
because maybe if we end with Cremita, that kind of sets up a little bit of a promo for Casualties number 1, which will be out in about 5 years. I don't know, but
hey, 5 years.
But no, I joke around, but I am starting it. And I have the whole thing thumbnailed out already, and I have the actual Bristol board pad that I'm going to put the original art on.
Right.
This is really high quality paper, so I'm going to be blue line sketching a lot of stuff, and I've been very productive doing blue line sketching. On my non-Sunday.
Just
time.
A reminder, though, how many pages in are you on Turbo Pit Fighter number 2, issue 2? Do you remember?
How many pages are penciled?
Yeah.
I think we're on page 25.
25, right. Good.
No. But that one's going to be 32 pages.
Yeah, it's fine. That's fine. I mean, it's better than 13, page 13. So,
yeah,
it's good. It's good. Now, I just want to constantly keep everybody in reminder mode, you and I included. We're only 3 hours a week. That's the commitment we have. That's all we can commit to. But the second thing is that, I'm thinking summertime is when we opened up this can of worms of an anthology.
Yeah, right.
And the anthology can was opened up primarily between just sort of our own 2 trajectories towards it. And it was just a natural progression towards like, okay, well, Jake wants to get somebody to work on a story. I suggested and pushed Ken Landgraf. Alex Turbin comes along in the conversation. We have him on. That's like a house on fire.
I agree with you people.
You know what I mean? So I don't feel bad at all. I know we're anxious to get this done, but I know you very well, and your standards as well as mine are unyielding. So it's best just to be calm and just know our tasks ahead in front of us, and then just kind of keep marching forward, as we are, and then we will arrive. And when it does arrive, it will pretty much be perfect. And then we can then put that to bed and then move into the next space, because both of us are kind of above the ground, floating around in a like, what will the next kind of phase of making Turbo Pit Fighter, the YouTube channel, for the 3 hours that we've been going on. So I also want to say, I have edited and rendered our interview that I pulled out of the 3-hour episode last week with
Ralph Nixon
under God, and it went really well. Other than, and I found the problem with the audio, and the audio and stuff. So I'm going to write a very, very short. ChatGPT is going to write me a very, very short like preface for anybody else coming in that they have their camera set and everything. Proper. Go ahead. But yeah, after this episode, I will be uploading, and I think if anything tomorrow, Monday the 16th, I'll be posting. If you haven't made it all the way through 3 hours of us, Jake and I, doing our thing, going forward, we're going to stay on the 3 hours every Sunday, and then we'll invite people in, or like I did with Jake 2 or 3 weeks ago, where he just took a portion of time, and then reviewed a Newberry blind comic book haul. He bought a bunch of comics and unveiled that. I cut that out and turned it into a comics that influence and everything. So really happy with how the episode came out. Even more elated of this first time that we were able to spend with Ralph. And obviously at the end, we started really chatting up, doing it again and having him in a cleaner connection. So he'll be drawing with us. So the flow will still be commentary between the three of us, but that commentary will be cut out and everything. So really, 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 really excited about that. Just to say as well, I don't know if anybody has seen this yet. I have copies over on crumthebarbarian.com. This is Jamie Burrows, Cyberzerker. We just cut a deal to get the first 7 pages, 8.5 by 11, black and white. That's going to be coming in the anthology, Crumb Anthology. But man, you want to talk about power punching with a little, I think this is like a 6 by, oh no, it's a 7 by 5. No, it's an 8.5 by 5.5. Man, talk about nailing it. But if anybody's interested in like I said, I'm going to get both of those copies of Relic Hunter on crumthebarbarian.com. I've got this and some other new titles going up, or these are up and for sale, that you can get yourself a nice little box of comics over on crumthebarbarian.com.
All about saving the shipping.
Yeah, and then having that magical box of books show up, which I'm starting to get like antsy about because it's probably been like 2 months. But I think I got to save my money for Chud, the $1 Comic Con in Havre de Grace, Maryland.
Yeah.
But Jake, yeah.
Wow.
I printed out your Company Man 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pager, which this was done on that 11 by 17. Is this 11 by 17 paper?
Probably 12 by 18, yeah.
12 by 18. Okay, it's still the same kind of thing. And this is for, what's Sebastian's nickname again?
Smitty.
Smitty, that's right.
I'm not sure if that's what he wants to go by, but
well, we'll figure it out.
I think that's one of his like handles. You have to schedule him because he said he would come on.
Yeah. And we're gonna do that. We're gonna do that at an appropriate time because like I said, just finished saying I don't want there to be, too much excitement. I'd like to see you get at least a week or two ahead of us where it's just you and I. Like this week and next week would be nice just to have time focused
One thing we do have to do is we have to review it because I haven't gone over it at all. And
Right.
if we
And
review
it's
it,
not, but it's not a priority. It's not,
well,
it's not on the
let
list.
me say something. Let me say something.
All right.
We both understand that there's not going to be time for it to slip into Doom Magazine's number one. But if we like his stuff, and you know, like I said, I haven't looked at it yet. I just took first blush at it. Haven't I had What you have to do is go over it with the script and see, how it executes the script. But there's a possibility of asking him to do some more, for the future too.
Right.
So that
Now,
if that's the case, and we decide we want to do that, then then the sooner we arrange that, the better. So one thing that we want to do, maybe next week or some other time, is go over these pages along with the script. And I think I'm generally happy with it, honestly, but we have to go over it a little bit more in detail.
yeah, and I think I can already see you're definitely going to run into a similar Landgraf type of let's say reconnecting to the original script. In other
Right.
words, there's not much of I mean, I'm just looking at your scribbles. I mean, this is page 1, and this
Right,
is
and that's
page
another
1.
thing, because
You know what I
those
mean?
are my
Like this is
those are my
definitely not a full figure from behind female over
well, he laid it
here.
out a different way with the
I get it. No, no,
spaceship.
no.
Yeah.
It's not a hammering or a bang on there. It's just I'm very concerned right now in the next week or two, cutting momentum to get you as many, if not all, the Duke pages lettered, to start then to basically flick your bick into like a mode where you want to try to get these things created, corrected, and resituated in your mind, being focused on this. I just, I can't keep you from that on the outside of the 3 hours, but I just don't want it to be something that consumes your focus into what the home stretch that we're in. It's just
Yeah.
putting it out there, just putting it out there. He's
Yeah,
not going anywhere. It's not like he's
during the week. I work on lots of different stuff.
sure.
On last Sunday, I did continued lettering after we were off the air. I didn't do a Substack last Sunday, but I did finish like 3 pages, and I finally got to a point where I'm like, okay, I gotta walk away. But yeah, it's getting like exciting, because we're getting closer to finishing this, and like, is it going to be 2 more weeks, or is it going to be 3 more weeks? These are the kind of
We don't
questions
know. We
that
don't
we're
know.
at, that we're up against right now.
We don't know.
But these are all good things. I have some time this week, and the weather just broke a little bit here, so I might actually be able to because I brought my white laptop upstairs instead of the freezing cold basement where I've been usually. But I might be able to with this vacation, get some more stuff done. We'll see. If we go to Boston, then probably not as much. But if we don't go to Boston, then it's possible. So, we're one good thing about working without deadlines is that it's done when it's done, and you don't stress too much. And the same thing with this Sebastian guy. I was going to say kid, but I think he's well into his 20s. He was able to get this done on his schedule that fit in with his life, and so I like that. That was good. And we'll get that into print, when we get it into print, and that's good for us too. So this is the way indie comics, have to work for us. It's very, very different from, other comics where they have, a deadline and a print schedule and a traffic manager, and, they have orders that need to ship and all that. We're not worried about any of that stuff. We're just worried like, okay, are we going to have this in our hand for the next con that we're doing, right? So, it's a good way to work, because you don't want to have stress in your life. And there was a funny. It wasn't funny, but I saw on this week on YouTube some guy. Yeah, some guy came up in my feed, and he was like, "Oh no, it was on Substack. I'm sorry." Um, and he was like talking about the mental health aspect of making comics. Now, I didn't listen to the whole thing, but he had a couple of valid points. Is that, comic artists and creators are very, very neurotic people, and that, sometimes there's depression, and sometimes there's hoarding, and there's a lot of different issues, that we come across. I admit myself very, very readily that I have ADD and OCD, mild, but together I call that AOCD. And if you put pressure on yourself and you feel guilty that you're not producing, in the rate that you want, you gotta give yourself some grace, right? Because life happens, and whatever happens, and sometimes you just don't get a lot done that week. But this guy was talking about people that beat themselves up over it,
Yeah.
and I think there might be something there, for us to talk about with our friends in our network, is that look, you're only human. We had an interview last week with somebody who has a 100% busy day job, and he's also studying in the field of like machining. I mean, you know how badly we need like machinists nowadays, the next generation of machinists and everything. So, these are some pretty good things to think about. But I feel like I'm cool. Like, I do what I do, and we get stuff done. The IC3, we would in really tough waters if it was going to be on the same schedule it was last year, but it totally got moved
That'd be like
back.
next month. That would be this time next month. It'd literally be like
Yeah,
a month.
right.
It'd be a month. It'd be a month away, and we would be like, "Yeah, it's not happening."
No, exactly. So, so there's all these things, but we're okay. We're okay. It's going to be more like September, and and we're not even guaranteed that we're in IC3. So, we're going to just do the best we can,
Oh, I'm
and
there. I'm there. I
try
don't want
not.
anybody thinking I'm not going to be there.
Well, we're going to be there for the what do they call it? The artists drink along or something. What do they call that?
Oh, but I'll be there for everything.
Oh, it was called. They called it
Drink and
they called
draw.
it drink and draw. Right,
You
right. We're
say
gonna
drink along? Is that what you said?
whatever, man. I'll drink along.
I'll drink along.
I'll drink along.
I'll be a part of the peer pressure.
Right. Yeah. No. And I would go too if I don't get a table. But for all that hanging out stuff, and then
Yeah, come on.
and doing the con and whatever. Where is it going to be again?
It's Warwick, Rhode Island, in Providence, Rhode Island. It's the south part of it. It's like I guess the Coliseums area where all the stadiums and stuff. There's a small.
You said it was like a hockey arena.
It's a sports complex, is what Kazra said.
Okay.
So
it sounds like it's pretty big, and they have a lot of space, right? So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're just speculating, but hopefully they have enough room for everybody.
Oh, I just had an idea. Oh boy. I'm not gonna work on these pages right now. I'm going to find. Keep talking.
I can talk. Let me tell you about my third conversation with Sammy Spear.
So, just so everybody knows, these were two packages of original art from the one and only your man Jake Jacobs. You gave these to me with the end of the world index timeline thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to, I think this is one of them. Ooh, this is going to be fun and delicious.
Yeah, I got stuff to ink, and I think I have stuff that I didn't even give you. That's how much stuff I have to ink.
I know.
I mean,
But
some stuff you said I'll take it, and some stuff you said I'll hold off on that,
well, no, I got it. I wanted to make this was before you got your scanner, so it had gotten to
yeah,
a point where that, and we had also had some conversations this time last year where we were kind of talking about putting together our own sort of like art books, like a bunch of sketches previously printed, or out of print or not printed material.
yeah.
But
I
I
got
have here, this is pretty damn cool. Oh, this is really cool. So these are all of the this is your first draft and second draft of Turbo Pit Fighter. I believe.
Right. What are you gonna do with that?
Well, I gotta scan them. High res scan them. Just archiving purposes. Look at this one.
Okay.
Look at this one.
I'm kind of down on sketch roughs going in the same comic as the actual comic.
We're not doing it.
No, I know. I got this indie comic. I think it was like an Image comic or something. And they had 20 pages of comic, which is kind of like the minimum. And then they put all the sketch roughs in the back, like every single page, like not just like a little example. And they were like, I don't know, they're so proud of their process and everything. Like, oh, everything I touch is gold. I don't know. I feel weird about that, and I don't. No, that's why I like that you're
packing the page count.
Well, yeah. Do we just want to do that just to pack the page count? Like
we've already established that.
Yeah, as a teacher, I can always tell the kids that are putting in fluff to make the word count, longer. Yeah. I tell my daughter that, like, it's redundant. You're just making the word count longer, and she goes, "Yes, I know."
Just like ChatGPT does.
Right. And now she's a teacher, so she
got to deal with that shit.
But I'm glad that you have it in your hands now, because I need to step away from it, and you probably have a better sense of what the right time and place is for that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, if I could get like $20 for that as just selling it as original art, I would be happy. So
you want me to cut you a check?
Sure. But but that's another question, and I wonder how other people weigh in on that.
What's that?
How do you feel when you get to the end of a comic and it's like 20 pages of story, like an Image comic or something, and it's like the bare minimum, and then they're doing all their sketches, the same stuff that's in front, it's just pencil sketches in the back.
Well, that is like process stuff. So I mean, it does give like an element of like, oh wow, like I didn't. Look how loose Rob Liefeld laid that out, or Mark Silvestri, or somebody.
So process stuff.
I always like that.
I mean, I'll look at process stuff of like Daniel Warren Johnson, but like I don't want to see like process stuff of a guy I never heard of. I don't know. It's just me, and I don't know if anybody wants to see my process stuff. So, like I say, you make the call on that. So I don't have to.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I mean, one of the things I think is interesting is how many people involved in comics are on the spectrum for being creators. I have always felt that way, because like even I can go back to like the first shows ever, especially when you and I were tabling, and like Jacob Javits and stuff, back in the 90s, and it was like 9 out of 10 people that came up to talk to us check out what we were selling. It always fell into, well, I'm working on a comic book. Oh, I wrote a comic book. Oh, I'm looking for work as
Why are you making them sound like Goofy?
Well, it's the reason I'm doing that is like how many of those. The reason is how many people actually do it. Like I am a very strong
0.05.
I have a very strong personality when it comes to people who do it and people who talk about it. The people who talk about it just need to go do it. So don't tell me you're going to or you want to be. Like show something to me. Like it was also the time of the ash cans. I always thought that was cool. I remember doing a lot. Actually, I just found a box full of my ash cans. I think I had like 3 or 4 of them. But that was so cool. It was just like 2 pieces of 8.5 by 11 black Xerox, on white paper most of the time. And it was just, you were like, oh shit, this is cool. When's this coming out?
Right.
But I just find a thing. It's but then the people, and then I think it divides away from people wanting to be creators to collectors. And I think those are the ones that almost like need more respect in the way of like listening to, and being connected with. Like I have people who commission me. I have one guy who commissions me almost like 5 times a year. And, financially it's a great help, but it's also something every time it happens, I get really like, I really feel like I slow down and I want to listen to what it is that they're thinking they'd like to see created and, the execution of it. So, because buying comics and reading comics, I don't know if that's really just going on. Like, I don't know if people are really like, like, oh, I just read comic books, I think it's a lot of like division of passion inside our industry. There's people who want to create them, and then there's people who want to collect them. And then there's that area of like people who want to financially support comics, indie comics, I believe, in specifics. So,
well, that's why Kickstarter is what it is, right? It's because a surprising number of people are willing to just front you the money to make a comic, and I don't know if that bargain is as great for the buyer as it is for the creator. I mean, it's great. Okay, you got all this money up front to do your printing and distributing and everything, but the buyer, all they get is the same comic that you could get like 5 months later, right on, just walking off the shelf.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly my core value.
I mean, maybe they should be signed, or maybe they should there should be something else to it. I mean, and I know they have all those tiers and everything, and people can charge whatever you want, but me personally, I don't get off on like a sticker or a fridge magnet.
Me neither.
To me, that's like, okay, that's probably going to be in my junk drawer for a while.
Well, rumor has it is a way of, I guess, supporting. You go to a show, like let's say you go to Artist Alley, and let's just say that there's 50 creators at this Artist Alley, right? Now, indie comics are not cheap. The margin is usually above $5, if not up and around $10 for a 32-page comic. Whether it's black,
you got to get $10 at least.
Exactly. So if you want to pay for the show, I mean, Christmas Eve. But if you put out a bunch of things, free is one thing. I think that's a bad move when you're tabling, is don't put shit out for free, because then people are going to take all the free stuff and they're going to move down. But if you have like hey, for $1 you can get this bag of stickers and a pin. The feeling is where, once again, this collector mentality, these people that want to be a part of comics, let's say indie in specific, you know, and they might not do this for 50 people because then they have their own like genre that they're into. You know, they like manga style, chibi, you know, cartoon, you know, fart jokes and snarky comments, you know what I mean? And there's 15 there. Well, you might not have the affordability of paying $10 for 15 comic books, but you might be able to get 7 comics, and then the other 8 people, you know, you might buy a bag or 2 of the stickers. So that's like, I've seen that like talked about, especially with younger YouTuber comic book con goers. Like they do at least one con a month, and it's usually anime driven. So you know, because the anime con thing is bigger than the comic cons. We know that because manga is bigger than American comic books.
I was in my local Barnes and Noble, and the manga wall is 5 times the size of the comic and graphic novel wall.
Yeah, and I just saw Rob Liefeld doing the same thing Jim Lee did in talking about how we need to start thinking and operating more like manga. That's the second major comic book player to publicly notify the industry as leaders that there's going to be some shifting. I think there's going to be some shifting. Huh?
What is he talking about? Like how?
I don't know. They're just doing this. They're just like, oh man, I've been really getting into this Vinland Saga, you know, and it's just amazing, you know, blah, 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 blah. And they're just talking, huh?
Like I don't think he's talking about the art style because, you know, especially
no. He's talking about the business. It's 100% the business. But and the business model is pumping out black and white pages of a continuity comic, right? In individual segments to get them out quickly in a larger, thicker, like Shonen Jump, to then at the end of the day collect them in. That's the business model. You know, this bullshit of trying to.
Then it's compiled into its own thing when it's good and ready. But in the meanwhile, you're monetizing the pages that you're doing. I mean, that's kind of what we're doing with our teasers in a smaller scale. But they're combining with what 50 artists every week, right? And something like that. I mean, like 700 pages a week or something ridiculous like that. So and you know, they have tried versions of this with like, you know, Marvel, what is it? Marvel Presents, or what was it? Marvel Premiere, or those little Marvel Age. No, I forget. They were coming out with these little compilation Marvels, and it would be like a 6-pager in there, you know, from like 3 or 4 different guys. And, you know, they were all making a comic that came out later. I think they did that with Wolverine and Sam Keith and, you know, stuff like that. And they tried all this kind of stuff, but it's just not working, you know, like Shonen Jump. What is the circulation of Shonen Jump?
I'll look it up.
Right. I mean, you're talking, you know, apples and oranges, I think, you know, with the American model. I think I'm going to make a prediction before you have the actual answer.
Okay.
I think their circulation is higher than any U.S. comic.
Take a guess. Just, and this is a weekly book that comes out.
Over 1 million.
Very good. 1.3 to 1.2 million copies per week. A decline from over 1.5 million in 2020, while physical sales have fallen from their 1995 peak of 653 million. The magazine remains a dominant force in manga, supported by digital sales on platforms like Shonen Jump Plus.
Right. So they had because they probably have web versions of it all now.
Sure.
So So they're selling 1 million copies a week, and it's all just like preview teaser compilation. And
No, it's not. It's not preview teaser. It's literally the continuity of a story. I remember while I was in Japan.
yeah,
I remember there. I would talk to my friends immensely about it. We would get on the train, or we would just go into a manga shop and like Kintakunye, and it goes directly to not Shonen Jump per se. Sometimes it would be, but they would literally go to this comic, and then, like everybody else too in the store, they would go to their favorite story and spend 3.5 minutes reading it, and then close it and stick it back on the shelf.
oh, funny, right? They're just looking for the
Yeah, I mean, you got a Shonen Jump that's like 300 something pages or whatever, and only 15 of them has your favorite story in it.
right.
And you keep up to date weekly. You keep up to date on it, but then when the Tokuban comes out, the collection, you hop on it, and then those get the circulation. They get that, and that's going from 8.5 by 11 ish.
That's funny.
Down to,
That's
yeah,
Japanese
when I was in Japan,
efficiency.
yeah,
That's Japanese
yes,
efficiency. Why
yes.
pollute your mind?
All my friends, all my
and
friends did that.
flip
And
through 700 pages, which is going to take you an hour, just to see what's there. No, just look, go what you want, go find what you want.
Yeah, everybody in the store was doing it. Everybody
Right.
in the store was doing it. And a couple of friends, I stayed at their houses. So everybody, and the houses, they're small. It's accommodating for small families and stuff. And then they'd be like, oh, and if you know anything about Japanese like living, nothing is out per se. Like there's not a lot of tchotchkes and shelves and dining room tables and all of that. Everything is just pretty much like right there or within reach that you can pull out. One of my friends had a wall. It was behind a like a closet type of thing, but he pulled it back like that, and it was like hundreds of just Tokubans, series of comics he had been collecting probably since he was like 6 or 7 years old. I mean, so the reason I bring this up is like we're talking about a cultural identifier. And it's like it's the literal apples and oranges. Like comic books and manga are fruit, yes, but they're not the same fruit. It's comic books are American comics are apples, and manga is oranges, and so therefore you get this flavor dynamic and this texture dynamic and all of that kind of thing. But it's also a cultural dynamic. There was something I watched a couple weeks ago. And I was going to make a comment and say, hey, expand on this and stop talking about all this other stupid peripheral shit. The person said in passing that they thought that the reason we're not as big in comics was because of the 1954 Wortham trial, and how then the way comics went from the diversity, we had girl comics, cute fairy animal comics, detective comics, cowboy comics, superhero comics, war comics, yada, yada, yada. It all went into superheroes because that was the safest ground for the publishers to hold to in order to not lose their shirts. But, it's what 70% of the comic book publishers by the end of, I guess, 54, beginning of 55, lost their shirts and went under and went and left, the industry. Mm-hmm. So, we got stuck with only seeing through the visual, out in the wild superhero comics until the indie black and white boom of the 80s. And that's where I come in, because I never got locked into, other than Conan the Barbarian, Thor, G.I. Joe, but this is something like my friends would we would all pull money together to get a comic, or, so on and so forth. But it would end up being.
What was the period? Was it the 70s or the 80s? I'm sure it wasn't the 90s, but when, you probably know this better than me because I'm in New York City. When did the hometown LCS really, proliferate, and like when was like the height of, you know, just having a comic store in like almost every mall, or you know, every region of a
There was
city.
not, there wasn't, I never went to a mall per se. I know there were malls that had comics,
Well,
like,
probably this is before malls even,
no,
right?
no, malls are like late 60s, early 70s. That's when the malls, the boom of it is then hitting in the 80s, and
Yeah,
you get mall rats.
yeah.
And that's because there was food courts that were attracting. That's why they're called mall rats, is that the food court was attracting the rats. You know,
Well, they just
they
have
were
nowhere to
attracting food.
go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And so, so the first comic book store I went to was owned by a friend. Now he's a friend, but and he's only like 5 years older than me, and he opened up at like 18, 19 years old. It was like a specialty shop, though. Comics was part of it, but it was a lot of Dungeons and Dragons and paperback novels. So mass market, which is now out of business. Mass market is now ceased and desist. Well, not cease and desist. They've
they have
vanished.
ceased to
They
exist.
cease to exist. Thank you. That's it.
That's
But then the big store that was all comics was in the basement of a house that had a door on the side from the street on Philadelphia Pike in Claymont, Delaware, just south of the city. And it would take about 45 minutes to ride our bikes out there. But he had everything. That's where I found the Ninja comics. You know, that's where he had a rack, black and white books, and almost everything on the title was Ninja. From Ninja Turtles, you know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, to Ninja High School, from, you know, as Ben Dunn and Antarctic Press and something like that. And that's what I had become attracted to.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I'm hoping for, because
What do you mean?
I
Like, you're hoping that that's going to come back?
yeah.
Oh boy, that's a
I
tough
really
one,
do,
man.
because shipping is really, you know, getting worse and worse and worse. And you know, there seems to be this real healthy comic convention attendance thing, you know, going on in the last couple of years. So, you know, what would it take to, you know, to bring this back, especially when we're talking about the little kids, you know, because you know, little kids need to start getting away from digital, right? Like they're passing laws about this now. New York State just this September, you know, had the ban on cell phones in schools, but you know, from bell to bell. But if you look at Europe, there are countries that are, I think it's Australia, that is banning social media for like 13 and under.
I think
And I
it's,
think that's a
yeah.
fantastic idea. To me, as a parent and a teacher, I think that's a fantastic idea. They're going to have their whole lives, you know, to do this, and you know, and we're putting them right in the hands of the trillionaire D. Huberton family, you know, version of nowadays, you know, which is Elon and Zuckerberg and Bezos and all that, and you know, and TikTok, you know, is more recently. They literally, if you're listening to this in the future, they literally, the government, the big government, literally took TikTok away from a foreign corporation, which was the Chinese, but it had investors from everywhere, really, and they took it away and they forced the sale, and the only people that could afford it in the U.S. was, you know, our multi billionaires who are personally going to bankroll it. And so who buys it but the CEO of Oracle, Larry Ellison, one of the worst corporate actors you're going to see, now has your child's brain in the palm of his hand, and he could change the algos tomorrow to
Well,
make them,
I
you know,
I
like
I think
follow.
there's, you know, I think the bigger question, though, is and this is actually coming out. I think I talked about it last week. Yeah, I did, about developing early onset Alzheimer's and dementia from not problem solving. So
Yeah,
one of the
yeah,
beauties of comic books and manga is you have to do half of the work. So half of the work, I'm just going to use Adam Lemna's new issue 2 of Relic Hunter as an example.
And start the timestamp. This is going to be we're putting on our art instructor hats, and we're going to. And this is a segment for this is could be a short, but go ahead.
You have to do the work using imagination to move the story from this picture to this picture to this picture to this picture, and then you get this bonus dialogue or narration that comes involved. But that gutter, that blank white space, is the secret to comic books. And I find it, what the thing is, the challenge is for me right now is I've been trying to find people who are talking about the power and how to improve your technique there's people out there talking about it, but I'm trying to find like a master where, this is magic. This is what had made us, when we were kids in the 80s, 70s, and 80s, believe Spider-Man was real, believed Wolverine was real, the Ninja Turtles were real, is because our imaginations created the story in our heads. And so
our dreams,
it became a problem-solving situation. But then, like my theory previous, waiting for your next Conan the Barbarian comic, you started writing your own comic book. What was going to happen next? Oh, well, Conan could do this. Conan could do that. Oh, Conan would beat the hell out of that. Conan could, you know what I mean? And then you got your little piece of paper and you're scribbling out your own little versions and stuff, folding the pieces of paper, going to school. Oh, this is my Conan comic, blah, 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 blah. When you take the child or the developing human out of having to solve problems creatively or solve a creative problem, like in entertainment, like video games probably were a catalyst for a huge amount of the creativity that spurted out in like the early 2000s, because people were making all these decisions going through these games to want to beat them, but you're still doing storytelling, you know what I mean? And that's how they get, I think they're in their own dry spell now, because
you could also talk about gaming, being so huge because there's a challenge to it, right? And you're only within the confines of what the game designer choices are. And this goes back to these little like D&D type pamphlets that people used to have, like, go to page 37 if you want to go left, go to page 39 if you want to go right,
choose your own adventure.
Right. And comics were like, they were like that, but without any constraints. You could think about anything and put it into the comic that you're reading. And people do that. Like when you read a book, you're putting your perspective into it. It's going into your mind with a total spin of your, whole psyche, and everything involved. And when you're a kid, the associations that gets formed with can be not just an endorphin rush right there in the moment, like, oh wow, the X-Men are flying and Storm is in the sky and they just beat Magneto, right? It just came out for the first time, right? That endorphin rush goes into your body, but every time you think about that comic from the future on, you get a little endorphin rush, that reminds you of the big endorphin rush, that you had. And that completely captures and captivates people to want to, be into comics or comic movies or whatever, or characters and storytelling for your entire life, and it's extremely formative for creators, because it, like when I saw Star Wars for the first time in '77, I was just a little kid. I was like, oh my God, I want to make a science fiction movie right now. That was the first thing. Or when I read Tolkien, right, leaning up in the bookstore for the first time as a little kid, I was probably like 10. Um, I I was like, oh my God, I want to do this. Like it's like, I don't know if it's a competitive thing, like, you're not going to be Tolkien, but it's like you're inspired and you're energized, and it's a contagious like thing, a bug, that goes into like the mind stream of the masses, and a certain amount of people are going to be creators, and then there's going to be consumers, and the consumers is a certain percent of the population, such that this becomes part of culture, it becomes part of language, becomes part of history. Like, here's a challenge, Kurt, um or anybody listening. What do you think the number of words that made it into English, common use today, are from Tolkien, or from, you could go back to like Milton. They say like Milton, who I don't know too much about, was like in the 1800s, I think. He was like,
Paradise Lost.
yeah, the coiner of so many words, and not to mention phrases, but even words, that we credit to. So like, that's the kind of change you can have on society, right? It's great. But you, like, being aware when you're making comics is really important. But Kurt is touching on something like being aware of how you read a comic, right? Like, get into the right frame of mind, get into a good chair, good lighting, no, distractions, and really sink it in, because if there's some quality there, then you become the person that shares that quality by recommending it to a friend, and word of mouth, and the more people.
I still love the when somebody said you're now a part of the creative process to this art form. It's very much like modern art. Like, the reason modern art started taking hold in culture, and even like outside of just the upper echelon, commissioning the work or going out and buying it in blue chip, is that it started, do you realize that I think there's over 5,000 art museums in the United States of America.
I was just wondering about Boston. I might be going to Boston in the next 2 days.
But
That's the
but the
first
whole
thing I'm
idea
Googling.
the whole
Where's
idea
the art?
is you go into these rooms where the walls are hung with these pictures that were crafted by somebody else that had experienced something, and also wants to transmit either an idea or a feeling, concept, or a
Yep.
story, like mythology or something like that. And you just stand there, and at layers you start pulling things up. Like, I'm going next Saturday with a bunch of fantasy art friends to Brandywine Art Museum, which is the housing of N.C. Wyeth, Andrew Wyeth, Jamie Wyeth. But more importantly, they do some incredible gallery shows, main features, and then they have a sub room that like right now has John Sloan paintings and etchings. And John Sloan we brought up, remember, weeks back. I schooled you in the ash can, and the artists that were living in New York City. And before there was like photojournalists, these were the ones that were doing like George Bellows was the guy who's doing the fighters in the ring, that throwing in mid, the punches are landing and throwing and stuff like that. But I think the thing that has me so excited and keeps me motivated is getting the physical book in front of somebody so they can contribute to my story. Like, I can't
Oh yeah, that's fun.
I can't express enough the joy already I'm having with Crom Anthology 1, already being done, and the stuff that's pouring in response to this book, my previous book, but just what you find out there about Crom the Barbarian and how things. This is really wild. So I just I got I don't know what this. Okay, it's a quasi social commentary here, which I can kind of be a bit of a mule at you for doing. But I think we're heading into a space in our society where a year or two from now, the thing that's going to eclipse drug use, like fentanyl and heroin and even alcohol and marijuana, is going to be sports betting. And I think we're heading down a really dark place where nobody, I think people are kind of like, that's going to be really interesting how everybody, all these personalities and, stars and stuff are endorsing.
Can I jump in?
I'll let you throw your on, but I just want to complete this because it's not a big thing. I was sitting there thinking to myself, like, if I was to do something in a comic book form that had, like, let's say nothing to do with like sword and sorcery or stupid barbarians like Crom or Conan and stuff, on a social level, I would want to try to take on the challenge. No lie, 2 days ago, I got a individual who threw a pitch to me, a 5-page comic, which I have approved, that is Crom the Barbarian being sent to our time by a wizard. And I'm not going to ruin it because the ending is awesome. And the first thing he gets hooked to is online betting. And I swear to God, I've been thinking about this online betting thing for like months, like not obsessing over it. Just this, like, God, this is going to be so sad for so many people and their families, like some sort of like drug addiction, and they're just making it easy. And when you have somebody like Joe Rogan now totally like endorsing it, which just breaks my heart because there's nothing healthy or good that's going to come out of it. Other than for them, it just makes me like, like, how can you put something out there that maybe would, like, I'm not trying to make comics for kids, but even just somebody who just kind of comes across it and goes, yeah, this is, because the story's really cool. Because the ending has this ethereal, like fleeting feeling to it. And I was like, man, couldn't it talk? And so totally like gave the green light for the story. So I'm really hoping it's in at least Crom Anthology 2, if not making it into 3. So,
So the sports betting is something that came to pass just in the last couple of years, and it's like a mainstay. If you're watching a ball game now, every single commercial break in high repetition, the exact same commercials. And it's really annoying because if you have to watch commercials, I would like to see some different commercials rather than seeing the same freaking commercials over and over in the same show, right? That's really annoying. And it shows that there's more and more and more financial ties and control as a sponsor for the betting house, which is the last person you want to have influence over TV or sports games or anything.
Exactly.
And so that's what it's getting, to. But when we think about where the DeHubertons are going to take this, you can look at this kind of thing they call event betting right now, where you can bet on the campaigns and the elections and everything. But you can, they've already, because like with the sports betting, they've already had it where you can bet on the flip of a coin. Right?
Yeah.
So at that point, it's like, what color socks is somebody wearing? And they literally, get the person, a couple of bucks, and they wear the color socks, and then the insiders take all the people's money.
Yeah.
And so, we're gonna have to timestamp this right now. Like,
the whole issue, this whole episode's timestamped.
Well, it is, but right now it's February 15th, 2026, and we have event betting right now on things like, is Russia gonna beat Crimea, or whatever, and and those people can bet on it using crypto. but like, and so the money is crazy, and the people involved are like the president's sons, um, and they're trying to pass laws now to say that you can't bet on something that a person can hear about it and change the outcome for money. And it has to be something random. And even sports teams, you have scandals every couple of years. There was just one in college, I think, this year, where people are taking a dive. They're dropping the football, or is there going to be a fumble in the fourth quarter? That's pretty easy for a player to make happen. you know
Yeah. Yeah.
so we got to take a look at this. And you're bringing up a point, and it's going to be fun to see like a crumb story of that, because you're satirizing what's happening today. But I'm just trying to think, 100, so if it's that bad now, what's it going to be like 100 years from now? And the probabilities of things being what they are, just the influence that the betting, like when they say art imitates life, it's going to be the betting becomes the event, right? It's like think of it this way: if you put a hit out on somebody, right, you're paying somebody to kill this guy, right? And if
Do a
you're
Kickstarter.
if you're putting a bet on something, and we can bet on like an amazing, different things today. You can, like art can imitate life, you can make it happen, so you win your bet. And there's been movies about this. There's been, things like horse races. I mean, there's been scandals ever since there's been betting, because you can have cheating, right? And all I'm trying to say is,
No.
like, they are cheating right now at the highest levels, and it's only going to get worse. They're cheating on stock market with insider trading. The government is all in it, both sides. We all know this. And it's on it's getting to sports betting now, which is affecting just the everyday person, just extracting money from the dumb husband that's supposed to be paying the rent for the family, or wife. I think this is a guy thing. But that's a good question for the chat. Are there any women that do sports betting? Because
Oh God, come on.
I was just arguing with somebody about this
Talking special.
on Twitter. It's like they have this, like, everything's a bet. If you buy like a printer, the guy at the cash register says, "Do you want to gamble on
Yeah.
whether this
Yeah.
thing is going to break within 2 years?"
And it starts off. So this is gonna break, right? So do you want?
Yeah,
Do you want to leave?
it's
You want to
made
see
to
if it
break.
makes it a year or
Oh,
2 years?
and
And if
that's
it
why
doesn't,
printers. Well, that's why printers are the worst. They call HP
oh,
hostage printing, because they have a chip in there that can disable the freaking thing anytime they want from the central office. And it could say, "Uh-oh, you're out of toner. You're out of yellow toner." Well, I haven't printed anything in yellow. I've been printing black this whole time, ever since I got the goddamn printer.
ever since I got the goddamn printer. All right,
Um,
Jake, we have 5 more minutes left. I'm just
okay.
showing
Well,
off. Like I said, these are
Lawn
Jake's
Shark
pencils.
165 is in the house. Insider sock trading. I guess I mean stock trading. I love it. Yeah, it's all rigged, man. Like this thing that they call the taco economy right now. If you follow like the Twitter of the president, you can say, "Oh, he's about to crush this industry right now with tariffs. I need to get ready to buy low." And then, sure enough, the industry is crushed with tariffs overnight, and the stock market makes a big reaction. And then a minute later, they revise the tariff policy, and there's no more tariff anymore. And they were like, "How much did you make today?" "I made $60 billion. How much did you make today?" "I made $11 billion." Just taking mom and pop investors that don't understand this is all manipulation. And if, like, there could be an insider call list or anything, but it's totally legal when you broadcast it publicly to the whole
Yeah,
public,
yeah.
right? And that is completely against every ethic in stock trading and government. So, everything's just converging around just like these super greedy people. I'm sorry. That's the bottom line.
And with that being said, once again, Crom Anthology over at cromthebarbarian.com is underway. We're literally 13 days away from the first deadline, which is just basically people getting in their sketches and roughs to get their space in the
Hey, Kurt, when's your birthday?
August 5th.
Oh, interesting. When's your deadline?
Why? What are you talking? What are you getting at?
When you closing out the next crime? Well, you're always just gonna do another crime.
Yeah. It's an ongoing thing, so nobody needs to be too worried if they're missing a February 28th deadline, because I'll be opening a deadline a month after I get the book, the Crom Anthology 2, to bed in the public release. So it's getting exciting. Like I said, I'm going to be curating the book, so some stories, including my own. I've really given myself a huge fat list of things I'm dreaming of putting out on paper, but I think already right now, one, if not two of my stories are going to have to hold off till Crom Anthology 2. I've even dreamt of a Crom Anthology without Kurt in it, like art-wise, just based on timing and having so many people involved. What's that?
What's the page count going to be on the next one?
It's going to be less than 200. It's my goal. I'm not going to put it at a specific page count, but
which means it's going up. The page count's going up from this one.
No, this is 256.
Oh, okay.
It's going down. It's coming down, which helps with because this is $35. That's a pretty steep entry point, but I have a feeling it's going to be something where people are going to want to try to grab a hold of as things move along. Crom Anthology to the next Crom Anthology. But really, just like I said with the possible story coming in for Crom and sports betting, I'm just in my element. I really feel like right now with not only Turbo Pit Fighter and you, Jake, but Crom, comic books, art form, IC3, OAX, indie comics. I mean, it just feels like things are really shaping and shifting into a nice little
Here's a question.
Okay.
When are you doing the next Cromcast?
I think I'm going to be doing one this coming Thursday. Adam Bennett has put together, and Adam is he's right here. This is Adam Bennett. This is Crom, Altar of the Serpent. So he's put the entire story because it's already done. I think it's 40-something pages.
How many Cromcasts did you do for that last printing?
I was almost every day, every week at least, going live. Why?
Yeah, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool, man. So what day do you do that?
Oh, I do it whenever it's the time. Like right now, all I have are sketches. And so I really don't want to just be showing off sketches. And I've been keeping myself from I promised myself I would spend 2 solid months just sketching and conceptualizing, writing first drafts. Like I just finished the first draft yesterday of Crom. Let me get the proper title. It's a little lengthy. A little lengthy here, but
Crom the Chimerian role. This what was the last day of the week that you did your last Crom?
What are you getting at? What just get to the point. What are you going on about?
I want to be on Cromcast.
Oh, well, it's not coming up.
I got something to show you.
Okay, well we can put something together. Where the fuck is?
All right.
Well,
I'm just beating around.
I'll give you a heads up. But I know what you're getting at because I saw some of your video that you have a surprise Crom script.
No.
Okay.
That's not it.
Okay, cool. All right, Crom and the Green Doom of Yagnor Goth. So that has been the first draft of that has been put together, which is the third installment of the illustrated prose, which is really, really cool. So it's Crom of Clarn, and then Crom and the Warlock of Shardor. Now I have it Crom and the Green Doom of Yog Nor Goth. Goths. I got to get that down. I love when it just rolls off my tongue. When it doesn't, it's like, but it's Cthulhu and all that kind of fun stuff. Like I said, Ken Landgraf is working on 6 more pages of Crom Gervanus. Things are just hustling. I'm very, very excited.
So, before we end, can you bring up the bullet points from the zine for a sec?
Sure. Let me find the zine. There it is.
How many are there?
2, 4, 6, 8.
There's 8. Okay, read them out.
Well, it's the casualties, the arrival of Cromorth, Giantess, the Secret Chronicles of Duth, Cremita, Broken Family, the Rise of the Pleasure Blots, Descent into Cultism, the Tuesday Movement, the Sentinel, Slow Birth of Longevity, World in Ruin, the iconic saga of Elevena.
Right. So the Giantesses thing has a name now. There's 2 Giantesses.
Oh, cool.
One is going to be Hawkwind, and the other one, yeah. So we can definitely expand on that. Just to give people a little update, the sentients are kind of blended into everything, and there is some more writing on the Hellclaw tab, but we're going to update every one of these. And should we, when we have a story out already, should we take it out of a bullet point because it's no longer, part of the stuff that was really just out on the Substack at the time?
Oh, I don't know.
Right.
I mean, I think I don't think there's any editing necessary on any kind of like level. I think the bullet points are going to be around for quite a while, and I think having them there, and then there's going to be the people who know. There's the ones that, oh yeah, I know about Cremita. I've seen the 2-pager. I know about the casualties. Right. I saw the Ken Landgraf 6-pager. Blah 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 blah. So wouldn't worry about it. And adding to it, that's totally fine, because that's what the Substack is for you. As well as you're going to go live after this after party.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, definitely today.
Cool. Cool.
I'm staying right here. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm still trying to figure out how to. You had another really great one last week.
Yeah, if you want, I could launch it, and you could be on the first couple of minutes.
No. I have other things I got to get into. Thank you, though. But one of the things I do want to tell you technically that I'm going to start doing is, however you're setting them up, I don't know if Substack has changed something in the live recording thing, but they're not going public. So you have some of these in draft mode, and they haven't been launched. So I can't. Well, I want to do last week's because I want to turn it into another long version to be posted on YouTube, just for chronology's sake.
Yeah, sometimes I do a live, and sometimes I don't post it afterwards.
Why is that? Is there a reason? Because I don't want. That's why I haven't done anything yet.
Yeah, I don't want to flood. I want to be a little more selective. But if you want to take any short that you think is worthy, you have my okay to isolate it.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and because.
But you're worried about having a full length. I don't understand why you would be concerned about having a full length hour plus of you just showing off art and talking about,
Right. I wonder if that dilutes the quality.
No, you're getting people coming in and totally like watching the old ones and following us, or following you, I should say, on the Substack. So I wouldn't shy away. There's no such thing as too much content. It's actually always the opposite in marketing online. There's not enough. It's just
Okay.
that. So do you
Probably.
not mind? Do you not? Because you'll see the email will go out to all the people
We'll
subscribed.
put one up, and then next week you'll tell me if there's any numbers on it. Otherwise,
Well, no, right
I'm
now you don't
okay.
have, like, last week's not public. The last one you did's not public.
Right. I say you can put one up and as a test, but don't put like all of them at the same time. Let's
No, no,
just
no,
see
no,
what.
no, 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 no. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. And it's like you're in a run right now where, like I said, you're really, I think you're doing yourself justice in not only motivating yourself, but others that come and hang with you or just,
How many
stop
steps would
by.
it be? How many steps would it be to speed it up and speed up the video, and then just cut out a lot of the audio and not have it sync?
I mean, just have a visual of you flipping through art for, like, if it's an hour long and you cut it, you zoomed it 4 times, it'd be a 15-minute just you flipping through art video.
Well, if you're drawing, then it becomes a time lapse,
Well, once you
and
do that, you speed up the audio as well. So then
right.
what
So the
most people
audio
do
you
is they'll
audio
come
you
back and
separate.
they come back and they do a narration. They stick the narration on top of it.
Yeah, so like cut out 3/4 of the audio and just
No,
find the
no, no. I'm
first
not doing.
quarter.
No, no, no. I don't have any time for that. I'm sorry.
Right. So
What I
that's
have time for right now, is that if you have a published video, I have a website that I can download the entire video. Then, because you're shooting in portrait mode, I can then drop it into my video editing software, and I can then expand it and crop it. So then it's just like your hand drawing on stuff or the image is floating. But it's also, you're talking about, like, good stuff, like the kind of continuity expansion and the end of the world timeline and diving into casualties and pulling back and moving over to here and stuff. So
right.
I don't find there to be any negative in its form right now. But like
Well,
fine tuning
put one
it for 30 something people right now, you might have maybe 40 people, is not, it's not a value for me to spend hours putting that kind of thing together.
Right. That's not something I would expect on the regular, but I think if if you do ever get any time to take one of these better ones,
Yeah,
speed up the art so the looks like the person's drawing quick and
right,
switching a couple times.
right.
And but then just like randomly chop out like the second half of the audio and make it not sync up, because it doesn't matter what the person's talking about versus
Sure,
what they're drawing
sure,
anyway.
sure.
And then just have a sample like that, and I think that might be like good for like new platforms, like just to see that on your phone real quick, and then bring you
Well,
over to the YouTube.
the cut ups, you can also upload those cut ups, those magic clip things. You should be doing that on your own. You should be doing that on X. You should be doing that on
I don't
your.
have the hardware here
No, you don't. It's you can actually set up those accounts through Substack. And all you do is just watch and listen and maybe edit a little bit, and then boom, post it straight to from Substack
right.
to X.
Substack, what kind of editing do they let you do?
I don't know. I don't deal with them at all. No,
No,
I
you
just
got to
grab the content.
download it. Yeah, you got to
No, it's
download
on
it.
your phone. It's on your phone. You have a Substack of app. It's your Substack. You go in and then go into the posted or the made product, and then you'll get all of those magic clips that are automatic.
What format? M4A?
Doesn't matter. It just goes up into, literally, you just have to go into your preferences and sign into those separate accounts where it'll upload it for you. So then you just you say, okay, I want to put this on X, and then you just hit boom, upload to X, and then from your phone it goes and uploads it to X. That's it.
Right. Well, we could do that, and I think also.
Now I don't have access to your accounts. That's the problem, is I don't have access to any of your accounts, and I don't want access to any of your accounts to post this stuff. This is all your responsibility as a Substack owner, getting all that juicy material automatically edited for you down into these sweet little clips that you just
Well,
post
if
on
you
your
can't
social
edit
media.
it in Substack, I'm not sure what to do on my phone.
Google it. That's the only other thing I can help you. It's from my vantage point, it's very simple. You just got to do a little
What you can also
investigating.
do is you could just take your camera and put it on up to your monitor, and then scrub it with your
What do you do?
hand with the mouse, right? And then you'll get the audio in a clip on the screen.
Well, go for it. Go
Yeah,
for
I
it.
mean, like at that point, who cares about the audio, right?
You can take all I'm suggesting is you can do the idea, and it's very much what a platform like Substack is doing, as well as, like I have the ability with our Riverside to make these magic clips. I'm just now investing into DaVinci Resolve because I have some very specific visions for cutting up, especially like Chrome stuff into clips and having I don't want to call it bonus material, but that's probably what it is. But the idea is that these places absolutely understand how easy it needs to be for their users in order to get people to come from other platforms to theirs. And I would hope, I don't know how you feel, but I would hope someday that, especially what you're accomplishing on Substack, that it would become your major focus in a social media type place. So, especially with all your writings and your illustrations.
All right. I mean, what you're saying sometimes when I'm just drawing and thinking out loud, and I was only doing it live to post more of them. Yep.
All right. Well, let's close this down. I think we don't want to keep these people away from reading comics, making them if they choose.
Folks,
Jake,
check
take us out
on Doommags. We're going live on Substack, on Doommags Substack right after this, and sometimes I even put up an Instagram post right before to preview that. But
to announce.
just going to be drawing and hanging out. And Kurt says I should put them online for posterior, but one way or the other, we'll make it today.
Good. And I just want to thank everybody that hung out with us, if not through the duration, jumping on and off, because it is a nice, healthy Sunday, but on our YouTube live stream. But other than that, Jake, I will see you next Sunday.
All right. Thanks for the promise. And folks, check out our other tabs. We have our Indie Creator Exchange, and we have the Comics That Influence, so you could see our flip throughs and see our interviews. And check us out right back here, Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Turbo Pit Fighter forever.